The following podcast contains spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to Animated Anarchy, where we take a critical look at animated features of all kinds to determine the good and the bad. Hello again, and my name is Andrew Dickman, and I'm with my co-host.
You were about to say friend, and you're
friend and co-host.
Michael Ruocco.
Who is a little under the weather. Yeah, because you just got back from Thailand and you caught like something.
I don't know what I caught.
You've got the old cartoon cough. The old like you need to start that card. Give another stutter.
I got a bad case of Bangkok.
And this week we are joined by a special guest, Bryan Newton, who is a director on Rick and Morty and Teen Titans Go, and a fantastic friend of us and the show. So, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're here today to talk about
a Halloween.
Well, yeah, we should first mention that this is probably like our Halloween themed podcast, so it's kind of appropriate with the kind of movie that we're watching.
Prepare to be frightened.
Yes, prepare to be very scared.
The horror.
We watched The Black Cauldron, should we say Disney classic? Because
what constitutes it as a classic?
I honestly
the label.
This Disney DVD is
it does say gold edition on the DVD, so yeah.
Not quite platinum yet.
No,
or diamond.
Not quite. There is an anniversary edition of this movie, though. I think.
Was it around the time where they were giving movies weird names instead of like the diamond edition? It was like
it was something
fun,
like that.
fun edition. The Twitter pated edition.
No,
the Hidgetus Fidgetus edition.
Yeah, well, I had like the old DVD version of it, and that one has like some really the special feature on that thing is screenshots. Like just basically like screen grabs of the movie that you have just seen. Now you can see them just paused.
Right, because like anyone who actually worked on the film doesn't want their face associated with the film anymore.
And there are quite a few names attached to this, like quite a few recognizable animator names.
It was really for many, it was like the beginning of their career at Disney.
The beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
Well, it's we'll get into that, but Bryan joined me and a few other friends a week ago while you were in Thailand. We went.
I know. I was really. That was the one thing I was probably the most bummed about was that I won't be able to go see the Black Cauldron with my friends.
Which is an odd thing to say when you think about it.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, it's great because this is probably the first time it's been on a big screen for like, what, 25 years?
Close to 30 years. It's funny because like, for a long time, just Disney does not want to acknowledge that this movie exists.
Oh yeah, because I remember growing up, I would tell people about this movie. Like, oh, you remember the movie with the skeleton army and the Horn King? They're like, what are you talking about? Disney made this. Like, no, they didn't. I was like taking the crazy pills throughout most of my adolescence. I remembered this film.
It's like maybe it was some sort of fever dream that you had. Like,
entirely
I was
possible.
in a theater. I was hopped up on a lot of medication.
It was the 80s. It was the style.
It was the 80s. Yeah.
I had like coke up my nose. I'm like blue and blow as a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
But yeah,
all children were on coke in the 80s.
So yeah, there was. What was it? It was a week ago that there was a screening at the El Capitan.
At the El Capitan for like what I think just that weekend, because they were screening a few movies. First was Hocus Pocus. Which is another movie that is like, honestly, it's a classic.
That movie's good.
That's a good movie.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like they don't really acknowledge it that much until recently.
They do it in the parks now.
Yeah, because they opened up the Halloween spectacular at Disneyland with Hocus Pocus characters. It was like the three main witches, and they were meeting up with all the other Disney villains, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. It's like all of a sudden this has become a cult classic.
Well, I mean, it was a cult classic. Now, I guess, since Disney is now acknowledging its existence.
Now they're embracing all of those weird cult classics that they don't normally do.
Because we remember like how long it took for Nightmare Before Christmas to kind of catch on and caught on big. Hocus Pocus, I guess, is like a late bloomer in that case.
Right. So, you know, it's kind of neat that they actually embrace these movies in a way.
Instead of just, like, in the case of the Black Cauldron, instead of just having The Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D play for another 3 days, they're like, well, let's throw a bone to the Black Cauldron for a couple days.
Yeah. So, but
was anyone asking for this bone?
No. No one's begging for it.
So it's a rape bone.
So, well, so it's really interesting because it's like, I think this would be one of the only Halloween-esque movies that Disney has outside of Nightmare Before Christmas, which is, I honestly think it's been done to death by now.
Yeah.
to say, I mean, like, I know there's like a ton of people who love the movie, and I like it too. It's like, it's a great, memorable, iconic movie.
Right. But for me, it's like we went to Disneyland recently, and Halloween's coming up. Everything's themed to Halloween. Mm-hmm. You go to the Haunted Mansion, it's Christmas, Night Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, the one time I would think to
Christmas
check out the Haunted Mansion would be Halloween.
Right.
But no, it's got all the Christmas stuff up. It's like, can't you just wait until, like, the first week of November?
Nope.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
No, they gotta milk that for all it's worth.
But you've been to Disneyland when they don't have the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. No one's at the Haunted Mansion. You can ride that thing like several times in 30
Yeah,
minutes.
It takes less than 5 or 10 minutes to get into the ride.
Because I'm gonna put my executive hat on. Kids don't like the old magic Haunted Mansion. They want the new stuff. They want the Christmas stuff.
Yeah, and they have the Hatbox Ghost in there now.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
they put it back in.
They put him back in.
Because originally, I think he was originally supposed to be in the ride.
I think he was like a design that was supposed to be
in the ride,
and then they decided, like, okay, let's put this in for some anniversary or something like that. Because I know in Disney World they added something to the Haunted Mansion there, which is that weird
animatronic Eddie Murphy. Just like they did with Pirates.
That was what I keep joking about this with everyone. It's like, if that Haunted Mansion movie was as big of a hit as the Pirates of the Caribbean, you bet your ass Eddie Murphy would have been an animatronic in there.
You know what's really funny? I think because you went with a bunch of friends, including our friend Steve. Mm-hmm. Steve made a Twitter post saying, like, Snow White is a classic, but it goes into the Disney vault for years at a time. Mm-hmm. But the Haunted Mansion starring Eddie Murphy will just always be on the shelf, never be put away.
It's true.
It's easy to get.
Because Disney loves starving us of the things we actually want, but the things that we don't want,
it's like supply and demand.
Yeah, it's like they've been on the shelves for like ages. There's a Twilight Zone ride, a movie. That is always in the gift shop as soon as you get out of that Tower of Terror ride.
It's the only place where you can get it.
Yeah. In fact, they should just give it to you for free. It's like, you rode the ride? Congratulations. Here's a DVD copy.
Yeah, like the cards that they gave out in the Indiana Jones ride to make you translate the hieroglyphs. They should just hand out the DVDs.
I remember those.
Oh my God.
That would be hilarious.
But
anyway, so about the movie at hand, The Black Cauldron, I think we've kept ourselves from this long enough.
But I want to ask you, because you guys, I feel like I missed out while I was 14 hours in the future in Thailand. In the future. I was wondering, like, just how did it go? Like, I don't know anything about how the screening went.
It was good. I really liked it. Well, they decked it out with, like, all these, like, Halloween decorations around.
And the O-cap,
yeah. And I think it was all in prepreparation for The Nightmare Before Christmas in 4D, by the way, which
means
I
they
don't know what that
pump
implies.
probably smells and bubbles and snow. Usually it's snow or something.
And this was probably, like, because we saw Aladdin earlier, and they had, like, a beginning show where it was like the genie
singing like a CeeLo Green remix. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it was an interesting remix of A Friend Like Me, and he was just like dancing around, twirling, going back and forth on the stage, not really doing much, just kind of like we're listening to the song and seeing this guy in a suit on stage.
Yeah,
like,
doing his,
like he just wandered in from the street or something. Like he was one of
Robin Williams.
like one of the street performers at on the Hollywood Walk.
Oh,
no, he was there at the tickets when we saw Black Cauldron.
That's right.
I saw him out front.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the genie?
The genie.
The genie?
Yeah.
Was it the decent costume of the genie?
It was no, it was
like a crappy.
It was like a street performer version
it
of it.
It was basically if you brought the genie pajamas, but then had an extra large head.
And was the head like wall-eyed and really crappy?
A little bit.
Yeah.
No pictures. You didn't take any pictures of the guy?
No, I was afraid that he was gonna like turn to me and
be like,
try
hey,
to,
a picture,
hassle
money.
me for money.
Yeah, outside he did not feel licensed.
Yeah.
That's why if he was inside, I'm like,
Yeah,
questionable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the costume, the actual genie costume looks that good either.
No,
that head looks like it was like pressed up against the glass. It just goes a little like right in the face.
It's squished up a little bit.
Yeah,
and the neck is like very wrinkled.
Yeah, but they had concept art and stuff hanging up.
Yeah, and below near the bathrooms, they had like a display of all the movies that they were screening that month, and they had Hocus Pocus stuff. They had like the huge prop of the main hall from Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's huge. I didn't think it was that huge, but those are big puppets when you think about it.
Well, the Jack Skellington puppet was like huge.
About 3 feet, right?
Yeah, two at least 2
2.5
feet.
or something. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, they had like props in that, and they had concept art which I had never seen of the Black Cauldron before, like some concept work of the main character Taran and Eilonwy and Gurgi. It's like,
how can you forget Gurgi?
Here's the thing. This movie has so many names that are really difficult to remember, let alone pronounce.
Well, also, you're running into difficulty. You don't care about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So hearing like characters say the name, it's like it kind of feels like they said something, but it's really a name of another character.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what did they say? You can't really hear it that well. And it was like that in the theater too. I was just like, I was waiting to hear them introduce this character, and then they would say it, and I was like, oh wait, I missed that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell that character's name was.
Right. Same with like there's creatures.
Yeah.
There's names of villages or towns or like bogs and things.
Barely any towns.
Okay, the name of the book series. What was it called?
Chronicles of Prydain.
Prydain, yeah.
Prydain.
Pristine.
Prydain sounds like either a brand of frozen chicken or some sort of laundry detergent.
Yeah, it's
clean your stains with Prydain.
An apple Prydain.
Gurgi likes apples and munches and crunches. Gurgi likes munches and crunches.
Yeah, so yeah, the names are very difficult to remember in this movie, but we start off basically with a narration by whoever, telling us the backstory to the Black Cauldron, which I honestly think is kind of unnecessary.
Can't we just say that it's freaking evil?
Yeah.
Do we need to have like, there was once a king who was so bad, even the gods feared him?
It doesn't inform anything about the cauldron's power, so yeah, absolutely, it's a dark cauldron.
It could have been something that could have been explained later in the movie, where it's like this. It's the what do they call that? The one thing in a movie that everyone has to get. It's the MacGuffin, right? So it's like the MacGuffin cauldron, and so they're all looking for this thing, but they don't know why. And it's like, and that's a thing that should be a mystery throughout all the characters. It's like they all seem to know that it's like very powerful and something is like evil about it, and something is going to be done with it, but they don't know what. And they just get that out of the way like immediately.
They explain They explain the plans of the Horned King.
Yeah,
right at the beginning of the movie.
The narrator basically says like the Horned King wants to have a bunch of deathless warriors that will destroy the land, and that's there you go. I'm out of here.
And the scene immediately after the prologue narration is the Horned King.
That's right. Yeah, because he basically says the same damn thing. It's like, I will find the cauldron and you'll be reborn.
Yeah.
And I will rule. And yes.
Like,
and then he just stands there with his
and the Horned King is played by John Hurt, which you said that when you saw it in the theater.
Yeah, when we went to the theater,
cheered.
people cheered for that guy, and I forgot what was he. What else was he in?
He was an Alien.
Alien, that's right.
Watership Down.
So he was
1984.
Famous British actor.
So so he was
the
basically
War Doctor.
Yeah. So but I mean, like, it's cool that, you know, I don't think any other actor in this movie is very well known.
Nigel Hawthorne, maybe.
But you know, I was even thinking about Fflewddur being voiced by
Freddie Jones.
No, by the professor from Lost in Space. It's like, oh, the pain of it all. Oh, who knows?
Come over here, Taran. Come here,
Taran.
Gurgi.
Little boy shouldn't be with an evil presence like myself.
I honestly, if that character was kind of like characterized more that way, I would get it.
Right.
Just like, all right, he's a creepy bard.
Yeah.
He's questionable allegiance. It'd make the story more interesting.
Yeah, we're going ahead of ourselves, but we're introduced to a lot of like very eccentric characters, but they're not. I don't think they're pushed enough. You know, it's like it feel like they could have done a little bit more, and there's like a lot of stuff that is unexplained, and like I was saying, the books. These are like five
volumes,
volumes.
They cram it into one.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah, because like I have the audiobooks and I haven't really listened to them yet. I wanted to like
How
hear
many
them before.
hours is it? Have you looked at the time?
Probably a lot, but I mean, like I could listen to them while I'm at work or something like that. But
see, that's even more distressing. I didn't know that. I just assumed they took one story and tried to like.
It's like The Hobbit in reverse. Right. It's like the opposite of The Hobbit.
Yeah, because one of the books is the Black Cauldron, so. You would think it was just based on that one.
Okay, now I'm even more pissed because within all that subject matter, they still couldn't give me one cohesive story, let alone like 5 in one.
Right.
Yeah. Just give me one story.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they had like a ton of material and they kind of didn't want to like lose any of it, or they didn't want to really mess with it at all. Yeah, because I don't know how close it is to the books. I do know because I read one of the books when I was a kid. And I do remember that Gurgi like spoke like that. He said munchings and crunchings, so he was like a very like
Gollum.
He was Gollum. Yeah. He was basically Gollum and Smeagol built into one.
He's fuzzy.
And
Fflewddur also was like very eccentric. He was like, you know, this weirdo, and you know, Taran is just a boy. I don't even think Eilonwy was in the book that I read. I think she was, but I can't remember quite off the top of my head. But yeah, there was like a lot. There's a lot to explain in the books
that they don't explain in the movie.
No, they don't. And I feel like they were either afraid to mess with the story of the book, because when you think about it, a lot of Disney movies, they take the idea and they don't really follow the book to a T.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, it's
look at Mermaid.
Yeah, of course. And well, you were saying which movie was it? Was it Pinocchio or was it it was some movie where Walt Disney came up and says, like, okay, did you read this book?
Oh, it was Jungle Book.
It was Jungle Book. Okay.
Have any of you read this book before? No. Well, the first thing I want you guys to do is to not read this book. Don't read it. It's dark and depressing. Let's just do our own movie.
Yeah.
Which is what they should have done for this film.
Which the thing about this movie, though, is they have to understand is that this movie was made in the time period after Walt passed away. Mm-hmm. And people were still thinking, what would Walt do?
Yeah.
Which, really, what Walt would do was take a risk. Mm-hmm. He would take a risk, but not, you know, sacrifice decent storytelling for, you know.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when people say, what would Walt do? They do the exact opposite of what Walt would do, and they would play it extremely, extremely safe.
Right.
So, like, it's a shame, because even the character designs in the movie, which aren't bad, like, they're in the Disney tradition, but they just seem like they because we've seen concept art of what the characters look like before, and they look great.
Yeah.
And then they got to a point where they were just sort of redesigned to be a little more Disney-like, but at the same time, they just seem like they took pre-established Disney characters and either reskin them.
Right. Yeah.
Like I said, and I noticed it today. Like I was looking at Gurgi, his head is just Geppetto's head. He's got with a mustache, except with a black nose, and he's fuzzy. Yeah. Like it's his head on like a small animal, like one of the lost boys' body
from King Louis. Like
King
Louis
hairy arms, and then like Taran just looks like Wart or
Yeah.
Arthur from Sword in the Stone or Mowgli with brown hair, and Eilonwy's kind of like Alice or Wendy from Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Fflewddur is like a human rabbit from Winnie the Pooh.
Yes, that was when I mentioned that. I was like, he kind of looks like, and he looks like he was animated just like Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. And so it's like, it was...
The big eyebrows.
Yeah. And his mannerisms as well, you know.
Kind of neurotic.
Yeah.
So.
Is there a point in this movie where they stole or reused animation from a
Oh,
previous
yeah.
Yes.
film?
Right in the beginning of the movie, which we'll get into again in a sec. But there's a scene where...
Okay, so...
Well, let's talk, and then we'll lead up to it.
Right after this introduction, we're introduced to the town, or not even a town.
Really just, it's like
cottage.
a farm.
Right.
It's a farm.
Yeah.
And we're introduced to this guy named Dolby.
Dolben.
Who we don't know who he is. We don't know what he is.
No.
Is he a farmer? Is he like a warrior?
A retired...
He seems a little too educated for a farmer.
Yeah.
He seems a little bit too worldly for a farmer.
Yeah, he's like, and he's not exactly a wizard either. But he has like
he's wise and knowledgeable.
He has an apprentice, but they call him. He even calls himself an assistant pig keeper. So
he is the keeper of this pig.
Pig.
Yeah. So that means Taran is the assistant to the assistant pig keeper.
But the thing about
there's like a whole hierarchy of pig keeping.
Because I'm thinking usually a pig keeper doesn't just keep a pig; he keeps multiple pigs.
Right.
He's only got one pig. He's not a very good pig keeper.
No. Yeah.
I mean, but I have to admit, this is one very special pig.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's some pig. He's terrific.
Yeah.
He's humble. He's crunchy. That's another movie we're gonna have to do.
That pig's like his last dime. He's like, I gotta hold on to this pig for dear life.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Jack and the Beanstalk. It's like, oh, we gotta get rid of this.
It's the last of my pig inheritance money.
Yeah,
one pig left.
But yeah, there. Taran, who is the assistant pig keeper, basically is like he's very complaining about his job. He doesn't like he. It feels like he likes the pig, but he doesn't like taking care of the pig.
He came around on that way too quick.
And the thing is also right from the get-go, he's just complaining. So it's like, way to make me really like and sympathize with this character.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
But Dolben, I want to be a great warrior. Well, why don't you just shut up and do your job? And maybe you'll get what you want if you work hard, like a normal person.
There's a lot of... they don't let actions speak for themselves. They let the characters constantly talk about exposition, about what they like, what they want to do, it's like if Belle went around and said like, I want more, and I also want to have like a castle and a prince to live with, and I also want to have thousands of people around me who will like enjoy.
There's a Futurama bit about this.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I think throughout the movie you just hear Taran repeat himself like, I've got the sword, I'm not afraid.
Yeah,
I'm a great warrior. Like,
yeah, there are a lot of repeat lines, and I kind of wonder if like they actually recorded that or they just like brought it back. Just
or maybe
so
they wrote the script and then they just forgot they put that line earlier in the script and they forgot to proofread. It's like, well, he says this line like 4 times.
Yeah,
I can entirely believe this movie is made in pieces, and they probably forgot. They
yeah. And because it's like throughout the movie, it feels like there's a lot of scenes either missing or
odd cuts.
Yeah, or it's not in order. You know, it feels like they could have probably put certain scenes later on into the movie rather than having it right in the beginning where it's like we're having this stuff explained to us.
Like the Horn King reveal.
Yes, the Horn King reveal. Well, that happens like right after basically
the narration.
No, not after the narration.
It's the narration,
it's actually
then Taran's introduction. And then we find out that this pig has a special ability to have visions. See, I think it's the future, or I think he knows things. Like he can find out like the Horn King is looking for the Black Cauldron.
It's a soothsaying pig.
Yeah,
I guess.
and speaking
he's
of,
he's I was going to say Sui.
Yeah.
Something with Sui. Sui Sayer.
Sui Sayer. Yeah.
I'm horrible with these puns.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. If you listen to this podcast enough, you'll notice that there's a lot of pun stuff involved.
Fantastic.
Yes, very. But yeah, speaking of reused animation, when we have the oracular pig looking at visions in the water, there's the Horned King
riding a horse.
But that animation is from Fantasia.
Yeah, from the Night on Bald Mountain.
Exactly. And it's like, you mentioned that to me, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh my god, you're right! Because I was wondering, it's like...
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like, hey, do we need a skeleton riding a skeletal horse? Well,
hey,
we already got that somewhere.
We got that. There you go.
Just dig it out of the basement.
Fair enough.
And it's really funny because it's like, you don't see the Horned King doing much outside of just lurking about.
That's the most active we see him in the movie.
And it's a silhouette.
Yeah.
So
he's riding to somewhere.
Yeah,
he's like, in a hurry.
To the restroom.
Yeah, it's like, I got to hurry. But yeah, so now that they know that the Horned King is looking for this pig because the pig can see visions of stuff and where things are if you ask for it. Dolben basically tells Taran to take Hen Wen, the pig, away from the cottage.
Just for the people who don't know what we're talking about, old man tells young boy to take the pig away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, that's a weird thing to do. Why would he just like order him to go away by himself?
I don't want the Horned King coming to my house.
Yeah, it's like,
keep him away.
It's like,
you're a horrible pig.
It's like the Horned King comes up to the village. It's like, I heard you have a pig. I don't got a pig. Oh, sorry. He just walks.
He goes next door.
Yeah, and it's funny because he gives him the smallest piece of bread
and
a single apple.
Yeah.
So it's like, and at one point there's like 2 loaves of bread and it's already cut, and it's like, you got 2 whole loaves of bread and you're only gonna give him like maybe 2 slices worth of bread.
It's totally that Mickey and the Beanstalk when they're cutting the pea.
Yeah,
yeah. Bean.
They're cutting it and it's just the bread, you could see through it.
Yeah.
But Dolben, we got so many animals. The animals are sacred.
You got like 6 gooses outside and a goat.
Yeah. All the animals have different powers. Like one's a fire-breathing dog. The other's like a magical frog.
Dolben, do we have any other mystical animals? Well, the goat could speak Spanish.
That would have made that far more interesting if it was like all these magical creatures, but the pig is just the one they want for this one scenario.
So, he's basically a farmer that has just like...
He could have been.
Yeah. That would have made more sense, honestly, than what... Because we don't know what he is.
About him.
Dolben, what is this? What does these gooses do? Well, if you grab them all together and you squeeze them, and they just all scream like the like the squeaky.
Horrible scream.
Dolben, when would we ever need that? I don't know. I just find it really amusing. Doesn't it make you smile? Yeah. It does, Dolben.
But then that also could explain like what he does. He's basically a collection of oddities.
Yeah.
Like he invites like local farm children. And another thing, where's the village? Where are the people?
Yes, there's no other village. Where are the people? Where are all the people?
Yeah. So no one else is around. So he just collects all these oddities of like various like and sundries and weird animals.
I mean, I don't know.
He's a peasant man, and he lives simply on a farm.
Yeah. Well, there's something that I wanted to talk about because, like, we were discussing after the movie. Bryan and I and another friend, Adriel. We talked about how we could fix the movie. It's like that's
the best part.
That's why honestly, that's why I love this movie. It's because it makes me think afterwards. How could I have made this better?
It's so broken.
Yeah, and it would have been great because, like, okay, there isn't any established notion what is wrong with the land right now. It just seems like a desolate land. There's no village. We're introduced to a cottage that it has, like, I guess a farmer and his apprentice or assistant pig keeper, which still bothers me. Assistant pig keeper. It's like that's a job description that you have like back then.
It takes multiple people to keep a pig.
Yes, like one pig. And it's a dirty job. I had it in my head. I didn't want to say it, but
you got it.
Whatever. So we basically should establish the fact that maybe, well, there was like a war at some point, and it was the Horned King and his band of no-goods who basically stormed the castle that is in this world of Prydain, and he won. You know, he basically won. He won against this kingdom who was once like very was striving and joyful and had pigs to keep. And so now the Horned King is in power. These people have to answer to him, and they don't like it. They think it's like, you know, but they go about their lives because it's like, you know,
they just live in fear of the Skeletor.
Like Bryan was saying, it's like we have to pay the taxes to the Horned King. Like we don't have to like it, but we still have to do it.
And that also explains why they're in this like secret cottage in the woods. Like maybe they're avoiding it,
right?
So that's why it's not just keeping the pig, but it's also us maintaining our.
Dalbin, the tax dodging pig keeper.
They get the most taxed.
Yeah. So yeah, basically this land it has been taken over by the Horned King. People don't know what he's like. They just know that he's like a black-hearted devil that hates, like took over the castle, and now it's like this kingdom.
Because that's the thing. Like you have to read that in the subtext, because when you see the movie, you just think that's his castle. Yeah, like he's built this weird ruined castle, but if you
he's also
that he took the castle, oh, he doesn't know how to upkeep it. Yeah, it's just like he's just shit. He's got barbarians. He doesn't know how to build like stonemasons. Or, like cattlemen or anything, you know, to keep the thriving
he just
castle.
Wanted to take over the castle. Like, and also he's like
falling apart.
And also he's right next door.
He's literally like a block away from each other. So he's like, go find me that pig. And it's like, oh, you mean that pig over there? Yes, that specific pig. Go
yes,
get
that one.
I wonder if he looks
at it's good to be the king.
Does he ever look out his window and just see like that green, nice Disney forest and just go, ugh. Like the housing issue is such a problem. This place,
that's such an eyesore over there.
Look at those primary colors over there.
He's only mad because that farm's rent controlled. Like, I'll show you.
You son of a bitch. So he's told by Dalbin to go and hide this pig.
And now he's like walking through the forest and he's narrating to himself. It's like, don't worry, Hen Wen, I'll save you. I'm brave. I will be a great knight.
Oh no, I lost him. I was so obsessed with myself that I lost the pig.
I was having a severe psychotic delusion of myself as a warrior massacring people in golden armor that I lost track of this pig.
The pig's just gone, and then he goes off to look for it. It's like, oh no! I swear that whoever voiced this character probably wasn't originally British.
I think he was probably
British.
British.
He was?
Yeah, and I think probably what happened was they recorded, and the person next door was trying to sleep, so he was whispering. Oh no!
Yeah.
Gurgi.
Whisper. Which is our next character that we're introduced to, Gurgi.
Again, let's start this movie strong.
Yeah, we are introduced to Gurgi, who is like this furry-footed burrower of some sort. He's basically the Hobbit, but like
he's pretty much like Gollum.
Gollum. No, he's Gollum, but he's like he's like a furry creature.
Gurgi wants pensions and quenches.
Yeah,
there you go.
And he's we are just introduced that he's a cute character and that he's like he wants to eat the apple
cute
that
should be in quotation marks.
Yes, yeah, cute.
It's like obnoxious cute.
Yeah, and there really is no purpose to him, sadly. There is purpose to him later, but for this introduction, it's like he's there, then he's gone. He
steals his one apple.
Yeah, he literally says on the first sign of trouble when you find Hen Wen, goodbye. And then he like just leaps off. Yeah. And you'll notice that happens a lot in this movie. It's like people will just like be there, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what, I'm done with this. Bye. And then they head out.
Trouble. And then he'll run away and hide in
the
bush.
Oh wait, something interesting's happening. I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah. And I don't know. Another thing would have been great is like if Gurgi was still tagging along in a way, but he was like, you know, this scared Scooby-Doo-esque type character where he's like, he just... it's like, Ruocco. I don't want to go there. Would you do it for a Gurgi snack?
Yeah, but
with Bunchins and Crunchins?
Yeah, but Taran didn't like Gurgi. He didn't want him there.
Yeah.
And Gurgi also didn't want to be in those situations.
Yeah,
like involving
he was
the Horn
pretty...
King.
He was pretty forced in there, sadly. And which is like, that's not what you want to do with a tag-along character. You don't want to have the character not be appealing and especially the main character. They could be annoyed by him, but it's like at the same time, it's like there has to be a reason he's there.
And also, Gurgi seems to be very attached to Taran. I mean, he's probably met other humans and other creatures in the woods, but he's alone, and then he gets scalded for stealing the apple.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he calls him master, and he calls him friend.
Instantly your master.
He's like, master, why? Like, why do you have to feel like you need to be, not grateful, but...
That's a great point. He should have been grateful. Like, he should have been starving in the woods. Taran, feeling bad, gives him an apple, his only apple, and he's like, "Oh, master, I'll serve you forever, master." He's like, "I don't want that, but master, I'm gonna go with you."
Yes, there should have been like some pitifulness to him, not like, conniving attitude from
like
him.
Like he's a little mischievous little...
Yeah, it's like he's a beggar. He basically is like looking for food, and then and
Taran bought more than he could chew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he basically gives him this, like, this is my only apple, but here you go. And it's like, "Oh, master, give me my only munchings and crunchings," and then follows him, and then that should have been it.
Yeah. Instead,
he's...
And then he says, and then he says, like, "Gurgi will help find the piggy, then we could be friends forever." It's like, well, I don't think we'll be friends by finding a pig. But then, and then
once
suddenly...
I find the pig, I'm dumping your ass.
Yeah, and suddenly these huge dragons come out, and Gurgi's like, "Shit," and
there's like a pretty, like...
I wouldn't overstate the size of those dragons. They're like fledgling dragons. They're like the size of maybe a small Buick.
They're pet dragons. They're the smaller brand dragon.
They're leaner dragons. Yeah. And they capture Hen Wen.
No, they're wyverns.
Yeah.
They're
Grivleys. They have things have very specific names in this world.
Yeah.
So the dragons capture Hen Wen, the pig, and bring it to the Horn King's castle, and Taran follows them and breaks into the castle.
He breaks into the castle, and there's another scene where Gurgi is like, "Don't go in the castle, it's bad, it's blah blah," and then Taran goes like, "Oh, never mind, you just stay here. You're a coward." Yeah. And we don't hear from Gurgi for a long time until after
they escape.
Yeah. So, but he goes to the castle and he enters pretty easily. And
wonderful guards.
Yeah, and there's like a wonderful scene where all of the brigands and all the Viking-esque...
And you compared, there's a gypsy dancer.
There's a gypsy
dancer. You just said, I remember you said, and you were just like, "Esmeralda in 30 years. And I was like, yeah. She let herself go.
And it's a great scene because those characters are pretty funny, and like, like I like seeing dumb... like dumb minions.
Yeah,
like in their natural habitat.
Yeah. And speaking of dumb minions, we were introduced also to Creeper, who is this little green
a goblin guy,
Igorish kind of thing, and he's one of the best animated things in the movie.
What's sad about Creeper? He's the only creature like that in the movie. I kind of want to see like other creepers. Like, where do they come from?
There's a bunch of human. The rest of the minions are basically humans.
Yeah, just big, huge thugs and Viking-y looking dudes.
Yeah,
but it would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I was saying like instantly they reminded me of Korgoth or Barbaria.
Yeah.
Just like, oh man, these guys are awesome.
Right. And they're like,
they're getting
just
drunk.
Idiots. Yeah. They're getting drunk. They're having a party.
Shit in their pants. Yeah. It's so filthy.
And then all of a sudden, like the wind howls, the darkness falls, and then a magical introduction to the Horned King.
Reintroduction, because we've already seen him before.
Because we've already seen him, which makes this introduction kind of
redundant.
Is not as powerful. But it is a powerful scene. If they would have just made this his introduction, like switched this from that scene, that would have been really more. It would have been more powerful.
They could have mentioned the Horn King several times. Like we've already seen, like the ghost image of him riding on a horse. That's the first physical appearance.
And that's the thing. It's like
it's shadowy and
it builds up.
Yeah.
It's like
you say like, oh, the Horn King is evil and it's a terrible place where he lives. And then when you introduce him, it's like, oh, that's the Horn King.
Yeah, and then it's like it starts to make you really shiver.
Like that's why like when they introduce say like Shere Khan in Jungle Book. You don't see him until halfway through the movie.
No, yeah.
And people say like, oh, he's, even the wolf pack can't beat Shere Khan, or this can't be.
But
Shere
it's
Khan.
funny because it's like with that, it's like when Shere Khan, when you actually are introduced to him, he's like very like haughty and like.
Well, the thing is, it's like now you know that this guy is absolutely despicable and evil. Then you see him, and he's really regal and calm and kind of. He's not angry. He's just very plotting and in complete control of the situation, no matter what he's in, which makes him seem even a little more intimidating.
Yeah.
But
the Horned King, it's like, honestly, it's like if they kept it at that introduction and they introduced him like that, it's like he has a really ghostly presence to him, and it's very powerful because there's a lot of Disney villains who are very flamboyant. When you introduce them, they have like a musical number where it's like oh Ratigan, Ratigan. It's like it's like I love Ratigan, but I mean, but it's like that. It's like you know that he's a menacing villain, but when you're introduced to him, it's like, oh, he's a fun villain. You know, this guy is serious. Yeah. You need to know that this guy has like one goal in his mind, and that is to just destroy.
Yeah, and he's very serious about his naps.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's another thing, is that he skulks around quite a bit, and he's very tired looking.
Right.
It's just like I'm so sick.
Yeah. But like
all of this.
The second he shows up, his band of brigands just quiet instantly.
Yeah. But the thing is,
then that suggests something.
But the thing is also is that they're in his castle. They must deal with this all the time.
Right.
Like, do they have to stop everything they're doing when he comes in?
Yeah.
He's like,
is he like the boss of like?
He has a hangover. And they're partying. He's like, oh, the noise, guys, keep it down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch my nap.
Yeah. He just got up from like a really long nap, and he's like very woozy.
But also a day drinker, because the first thing Creeper does is get him a glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a little wine in the morning.
Yeah. Hair of the dog.
Hair of the dog. So yeah, and then Creeper is his little toady, and he kind of just is sort of like, yes, master, yes, anything. And then he's a fun. Creeper's a really fun character.
In this scene, he's probably done by two different animators, I'd noticed, because there is a design change a little bit.
There's one where he has a more prominent lower jaw and teeth, and there's one that's a little more rounded.
I love those scenes, like when he's animated.
That must be the supervisor who did those.
Probably, yeah.
Because it's really, really, whoever did it, really good stuff.
Yeah, very good acting from that character. So it's like, it was, and he's really fun too. I would say he's like my favorite character in the movie, because he acts so conniving, and like he is a toady, but it's the funny because of the scenes is like he's the humor in this really dark, like intimidating character that just doesn't say anything.
Upon the second viewing of the movie, like I saw it as a kid, and I saw it again when it got released on DVD the first time. I thought you could remove Gurgi and just keep Creeper, because Creeper is what Gurgi needs to be for that role, for that world too. And if Creeper,
Creeper, that's when he's older. He turns into Creeper.
So well, master.
All those times you choked me.
Yeah, exactly. A little winded. But if Creeper had a heel turn for Darwin, that would have been a more fascinating thing. Then you can believe, like, oh, I don't quite trust him. He's constantly stealing from me, but he serves a purpose.
Then it would be like he probably could have had that scene where he goes off to look for the pig keeper, and he's like, all of a sudden, it's like, there's that moment where he kind of like sympathizes or something, because he doesn't exactly like being with the Horn King. He's just in fear of him. He's in fear of him.
That would have been great. Like, what if the Horn King also used Creeper to find the cauldron, and Creeper finds the pig, and he's like gonna bring it for the Horn King, but he's also not brave, so he can't stand up to Taran. Yeah. So he's just like, oh, I'll serve you, master. Thanks for feeding me. But all the time he's trying to get the pig away from him.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny how we just sit here and come up with ideas that would be, in a way, more entertaining.
Yeah. Right.
Because we were not thoroughly entertained.
I mean, it's entertaining to some level, I think. The movie, to some level. I mean, from an animation standpoint, definitely.
Well, I like it, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good animation in this. And like you were saying, this is the start to a lot of animators'
right, because this is the last real movie where the old guard, the old team of animators is gone. They're retired or they're passed on. And
it's like my friend,
all new guys.
My friend who was in Cal Arts at the time, they were actually making this movie, and he remembers. Oh gosh, I can't remember who was the teacher, but he came up and he says like, "Walt's dead. You missed it."
Oh, it's Ward Kimball.
Oh, it was Ward Kimball, probably. Yeah.
And just the first thing he says to an audience at CalArts, it's one of my favorite things anybody's ever said to anyone.
Yeah.
Just he goes up and it just says, "Just for the record, Walt's dead. You missed it." And everyone just went.
Yeah, and that's when everyone left.
Yeah.
It's like, well, all right, see ya.
Guess we'll make Black Cauldron then.
Yeah. Even on the movie poster, I have a framed movie poster,
and it's a beautiful poster.
It is. It's
I kind of want it.
Like if you saw that poster, be like, I want to go see this movie.
Yeah, and it says on there 7 years in the making,
which is not a thing to be touted. That means 7 years in the making doesn't mean that it's 7 years of good work.
No,
yeah, 7 years.
It doesn't feel like 7 years of work because it's like, how much of those years should have been polish? You know, it's like it feels that there could have been something that kind of like struck someone's nerve and said like, okay, we need to do something different.
It's like they were making it for 7 years, but they weren't watching it while they were making it.
Maybe they were learning as they were going. I don't know. It's like,
well, I mean, it was a different time. Sure. A lot happened in the span of 7 years. Because maybe it was 3 years of...
Well, I don't know the backstory behind it, so...
But we also have to put it in context of, like, 80s fantasy movies. And you can compare it to other 80s fantasy films and where it, like, works and where it doesn't work. Because, like, they had the Lord of the Rings films that, like, Rankin Bass and Ralph Bakshi worked on.
Yeah.
Which are also problematic.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not perfect.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Around this time, a lot of movies, like the barbarian type movies, where it was about, you know, the ye old times,
Conan.
Conan, Krull, and stuff like that. And they were all really expensive, big productions, and they all bombed.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where it's like...
Conan did well.
Oh, yeah, Conan did well. I mean, it's like, I guess there was like... The reason why they did so many of them is because they figured there was something to this. So we got to figure out what that is, and we'll take a risk and do that. And, and something will shine, you know?
Yeah, like I will say about Black Cauldron, I like the world.
Yeah,
I like it. I find it interesting. I like the forest. I like the underground stuff, the caves, the swamps, the castle.
There's some beautiful paintings.
The backgrounds, like the layouts and the stuff of, like, say, the castle are amazing. Like, it's like I want to go in that castle.
Yeah.
You know, apparently, I forget. I think it's in.
Although I probably get
in
lost
Disney. In
because
Disney,
it doesn't
Tokyo,
really seem like
I think
anything
it's in Tokyo Disney.
safe.
Or something where you could go into the castle, and in one of the rooms is the Black Cauldron with an animatronic Horn King.
Oh, cool. Really?
Apparently, I heard about it. I don't know exactly.
I should look that up. Yeah, because I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. Taran stumbles in and tries to save because Hen Wen can't tell she can't make any sort of
they don't know the secret. They don't know.
Yeah, they just know that the pig can see things, but it takes another person to like do it, like Dolben, you know. It's like, so he stumbles in, and the Horn King's like, I assume that you're the keeper of this oracular pig,
which is my favorite line. One of my favorite lines in the movie because it's so weird. My boy,
especially from something so intimidating like that. There are words I don't think.
Are you the keeper of this oracular pig?
What would have been a better word to say? But honestly, it's still great.
Boy, this your pig?
This your pig.
This your pig.
It was like, what is this, Deliverance?
Your boy, this your pig there.
Gonna make you squeal like a pig.
Come over here. Creeper. Go over there and make that pig do his thing.
Yeah, boss. Yeah.
It's good to get one of you.
Already a much better movie. Way better.
Careful there.
Hacking up a...
Yes. Well, anyway, they
find out.
He starts to find that, you know, Taran is revealing where the Black Cauldron is. But by the time he finds out, it's like, during this time, like, the Horn King is just, like, skulking behind him, creeping up, like, yes, tell me. Yes. And then Taran does the thing where he just turns around, freaks out, and then splashes water on him. He's like, oh!
But then, like, the Horn King reacts like he's melting from, like, the
yeah, like the
Wizard of Oz.
He could drink wine, but he can't handle a little water in the face.
It's like he hasn't had a bath in the longest time, and now he's my record. My record for longest time without a shower.
Oh God!
Now I feel bad for him.
Not only did he sympathize with the Horn King.
They don't establish if the Horn King's like is like some evil construct or some dirty old man. So it's like you don't know.
Well, he's obviously a skeleton with horns.
Yeah, and
maybe it got into his brain and just like, oh God.
And there is like a small. Like there's a small hint that he might be magical.
Yes.
Especially with his introduction. But
that's the only magic you see.
Well, anytime a character appears and you hear a theremin, you know that they're from some other world.
It's like Orpheus.
Yeah, but then there's this big chase, and Talwyn shoves Hen Wen over the wall, who basically falls into the water
to his death.
Yeah,
basically.
And so, but they capture Taran before he's able to escape too, and he's thrown into the dungeon. The dungeon.
Yeah, and then
Why didn't they kill him?
Well, I guess because they need him to find the pig, so they could. Yeah,
I
mean, there's a reason why he needs to be as like just rough him up a little bit. Yeah. There should have been a moment where he's like,
but don't. He's only a boy. So he gets thrown into a dungeon, and he gets all weepy, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, Princess Eilonwy shows up, who is a princess of nowhere in particular.
Has like a little
bauble.
Yeah.
A glowing ball.
Hey, listen.
And only because she's pretty and good, she's a good guy. Because I almost half think they should have pulled like an Aladdin, where like this would have been a trick to get him to get the pig back.
Maybe. I mean, that would have been an interesting thing to do there.
Better than Creeper and Drag.
But then there was another...
Well, I don't know about
that. Pig boy, I mean...
Pig boy! I mean, pig boy!
Won't you tell me where the piggy wiggy is? Wink, wink.
Yeah. And there's like...
Bring the gypsy woman in there.
That would have worked.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
I'll tell you anything.
He's like, I want to be a man.
Give me a kiss at all dog with a smile on my face. Yeah.
Gov.
Well, but she basically introduces herself as Princess Eilonwy, although we don't know what she's the princess of.
Yeah, all we know is that she was captured because the Horn King thought that her bauble, her glowing...
could tell.
Yeah, could tell.
So it's like... I mean, that's a good hint to say that, the Horn King is trying to use all means to try and find this thing. But you would think it's like... If you found out that this girl couldn't tell him where the Black Cauldron is, he would have killed her anyway.
Yeah,
wouldn't it just like put her away? It's like, oh, I have other use for her later.
Right. But it's kind of just
she can clean the kitchen. I don't know.
That could get dark.
It's kind of it's convenient for her that for this one time in the movie, right when you first introduce her, she's escaped and she knows her way around, sneaking around the castle.
I assume she's using the bauble.
Yeah, true. Well, because then once Taran later, because they go through the castle and they're looking for an exit to get out, and they stumble on this this old tomb of either the king who used to live here. Because they even say it must have been the king who used to live in this castle.
And that's
a hint.
That would have been, that was another thing that we were talking about. It's like that because of that king was there, where he finds the sword, and it's like the king that used to live in this castle. That could have been the king that used to be there that the Horned King took over. It's like
the good king.
The good king, and then they basically stuffed him in this this dirty place in the basement because it's like
he's like, oh, we got this old king corpse. What are we gonna do with him? Just stick him down there with the barrels, like the old comics and the Playboys.
And what about this sword that glows when you hold it? It's probably nothing. Just put it with him.
So
Taran finds this...
and he probably couldn't do anything with that sword.
Right.
So it's like
so Taran
too evil.
Taran gets the sword, and it's a magic sword that could. it slices, it dices, it does everything. It's a magic sword. It makes Julian fries. It can cut through metal.
He will not break.
And whether you
want it to or not.
Yeah, but he finds it, and then it's suddenly, he becomes suddenly, because he has this sword. He's like, I'm gonna be the warrior I want to be. Come with.
Yeah.
And then like Eilonwy kind of just sort of takes a back seat, because she's really like. Because it's at the beginning, you're like, oh, she's resourceful and she knows her way around.
Yeah.
She's got an attitude. It's almost like a clue as to what would come in terms of female protagonists for Disney in the future. But then, like, right when you think, oh, she's going to be kind of strong and independent, she's just complaining.
Yeah,
she sews. She turns into pretty much.
Yeah, she does take
Wendy.
a backseat.
She's pretty much Wendy from Peter Pan.
It's really the only good thing that she's done is like save Tolwyn from that dungeon. And after that, it's just like
Right.
And I almost thought it would have been funny if, like, she's not really a princess; she's just crazy. It's like
skipping ahead. There's a line at the end. The Horn King, when he has them all caught again, he refers to her as a scullery maid.
Yeah.
I'm like, were you just dissing her, or is she actually a scullery maid?
Yeah, exactly.
If there's a moment, it's like, I'm not really a princess. I just
that would have been something for her to cop to. That would have been an interesting character arc for her.
Yeah, it's like maybe she wanted the castle.
Or who knows? Maybe they had more, and then they cut it, and then they just sort of left the old pieces in. Like, oops, we forgot to.
That's why I actually want to read the book to see what.
Yeah, I would love to read the books now
Yeah.
and see what that's, or read or listen to the audiobook.
Yeah, because it would have been interesting. It's like maybe she was like a maiden of the castle or something. Like she was like one of the help,
and maybe the real princess died. And so she just assumed her identity.
Yeah,
kind of dark but awesome.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. It's like it would be a little bit more explanation as to why she's around. And
there can be only one.
Yeah, and being in this castle for so long, she's gone a little crazy, like a little loopy, and I thought that would have been a great element to her. It's just like there's something not right about her. She's still sweet and everything, but it's like it reminds me of the movie that I saw recently, Turbo Kid.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, where it's like he meets up with
Apple,
who is very weird. It's like she's not like everyone else, where it's like everyone's kind of like accepted the apocalypse, and here's like this really happy person all of a sudden who wants to become friends, and she talks to dead people. It's like as if they were her friends. It's like
a good reveal too.
Yeah, it's great, and I would have loved to have seen that with Eilonwy. It's and because she has like this little fairy thing. Bauble,
and then they go around, and then they're introduced to, well, not introduced, but they discover.
Oh yes,
in another dungeon,
another character that we're introduced to
is Fflewddur Fflam.
Fflam.
I think the castle's all dungeon.
Yeah, there's so many dungeons in here.
Well, it's like, Sire, we have all these rooms in this new acquired dungeon. What you do? Let's see. Well, I'm not going to be using that as a bedroom, obviously. Bathroom. We got plenty of bathrooms. You know what? We can use another dungeon, right? But Sire, but think of all the storage space. It's going to be a dungeon. Make it a dungeon.
But this one's...
Sire, okay, dungeon is.
Sire, this one's clearly a pool hall.
Look, there's a...
We could have had a pool hall.
Look, Sire, there's a mini bar on the side. No, it's a dungeon. But look, they left all this stuff here.
There's still liquor in the cabinets.
Smash the liquor. Dungeon.
Oh, man. Do you want me to take the dartboard down? Yes, put shackles. Again with the shackles. Listen, every wall has got to have shackles. Can we at least mix it up? Different colors.
This is all starting to add up, Sire.
Yeah. Sire, our budget is actually not that great. Have you seen any treasure in this castle at all? None. A lot of cobwebs and dirt
and rats.
And rats.
From Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, Lady and the Tramp rats.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're introduced to this guy, Fflewddur Fflam, who
is a bard.
Is a bard, and whenever he has a harp, and whenever he tells a lie, supposedly, or says... I guess obviously lies. A string goes.
The string breaks.
And it plucks.
And that's
it's not a magic harp, right? That's just like a comedy element.
No, I guess it's.
But why would they?
So
because he says
because that is a thing in the books. Like he has this harp, and I don't know what the explanation of it is. And I thought like maybe he was cursed or something.
It's probably a lie detector harp, but it's only got a certain amount of strings. So after a few lies, it's really can't do anything.
Yeah.
But I think they even say in the movie that like I didn't know whose castle this was. I was just passing through. Please let me go. So he was just going around traveling, and I guess he just gets captured anyway.
Yeah, well, I thought it would have been funny if it was like he was basically a bard who was going to be for the Horned King, but the Horned King didn't like him because you see across from him there's
another
there's
bard.
A skeleton. There's a skeleton on the shackles
with a mandolin.
And it's like dead, and he's like, because
he goes at one point, because you even hear it like it's very quiet, but he looks at him and you just cut to it, and he goes, "Who's that?" And it's weird.
Who's that? I think it would have been funny if it was like, he was like a bard that really didn't please the Horned King enough. So it's like now he's being shackled, and it's like, but I was just here to entertain. I don't know why he wants me here.
Like, I just want to entertain.
I didn't know he didn't like Oklahoma. Show tunes, please. So they help they barely help Fflewddur escape. He escapes kind of on his own.
Yeah, he does. He has like one hand is like loose, and then he does the rest.
And
himself.
also throughout the movie,
they basically like unshackle him a little bit,
so
and
he
then
can
they meet up
himself.
with him later in the thing when they all escape.
And
because he's being chased by the dog.
Yeah, and another thing about Fflewddur also is that throughout the movie, he says this phrase, great
villain or
great Berlin or Berlin.
Yeah, great Berlin.
Or I don't know.
Great Pillin.
Is he German?
Yeah.
Flibbin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm very certain it's in the book, and I'm sure it's a phrase that he says, and I don't know what it means. They don't explain it. It's just something that he says.
Blabbering blabberskite?
Yeah, blabbering blabberskite.
Something.
And then he becomes Gizmo Duck.
Yabba dabba doozy. Let's get out of here or something.
Yeah.
So they
it was just an unnecessary phrase, but it's heard a lot.
Yeah, so Taran, with his magic sword, and Eilonwy and Fflewddur escape the castle.
They escape the castle.
And then you have a really great little standalone scene. They always, in Disney movies, after that, there was a lot of these scenes where the character has to go and break the bad news to the other character. Like it happens in Little Mermaid. I know it happened in the Three Musketeers Mickey movie.
Right, yeah. There's a couple of them.
But it's fun. It's kind of fun. It's a great little character moment of a character building up the courage to be like, I'll just tell him straight that, I can't do this. Like, there's always, and they even do it in,
and what if he gets mad?
And if he gets mad, I'll straighten him out.
And I love that like little knock where it's like,
like he's about to knock and he's like,
It's funny you should mention that Disney movies do this. I think it's because this is what a lot of the animators and story artists were feeling whenever they had to tell Walt bad news.
Yeah, that's true. They're probably like, so I'm going to tell this to Walt, and Walt's going to, if Walt doesn't like it,
which one of us is going to tell him that?
Yeah.
Drawing straws.
Yeah. Like, because I just love that.
Your turn, Ward.
Yeah, I just love just the idea of like, and if Walt doesn't like it, I'm probably gonna die. Just them being too scared.
It is a great scene, but it's
a great little character moment with Creeper, but it's unnecessary.
Yeah, well, it is unnecessary, but it is fun.
If the movie were better, it'd be fine.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And also the moment's like, okay, son, I'll do it myself, and then he chokes himself.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, actually, because he does says like, even the Horned King goes, good, he'll find his pig. Send them after him. Or, oops, I just hit your mic. Send the things after him. The dragons.
I'm sorry, sire. I didn't hear you. You mumbled. I said. And then he just chokes him.
Send the Gwen Dibblies. The Gwen, sire. The what? You know, the big things with the wings and the teeth. You mean dragons, sire? No, that's not what I'm calling them. I'm calling them Gwythifs or Fleffies or Fleefly Floofies.
From this day forward, they're Gribbons.
They're Gribbons.
Dragons are copyright and so derivative.
Yeah, but yeah, there is that moment, and it's like it's funny because we were talking about how lazy.
The
Horned King looks every time he's around. He's just like, he's not facing the screen. He's just slowly moving to his chair. He sits down. He's just like...
You can't leave his snuggie.
Yeah.
It's funny because there's a moment later where he's looking as if he's going to grab Creeper, and his hand is just hovering for like maybe 10 seconds.
There should have been a moment where Creeper was like looking at his hand and just going like...
Or just stepping away or leaning away.
It would have been a great bit if the Horn King was messing with him. Like every time his hand would raise, Creeper would look behind him and
then he would reach
down.
He would go, and then he'd reach for the wine. You go, oh.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Oh.
Look, sire.
He's like,
yes, look, sire.
Poor Creeper, he's in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
he keeps coming back.
Yeah.
So our main cast escape.
And
they have a moment where they fight.
Yeah, this
which
is like
kind of
really weird.
Yeah, and then they have a reconciliation.
I think it's because they needed to have like a interaction between the two, like Eilonwy and Taran. So
romance.
So there had to be some sort of sexual tension there.
Right. But she pretty much says all the things that we think about Taran in the movie.
Yeah,
you keep bringing it up. You keep bringing up that you're not afraid and you're not a warrior.
She's on it. She's
like, she's pretty much telling what the audience has to say.
And Taran just basically like, you're just a girl.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like very much like...
What really broke it was when he called her princess, and then she's like, she takes so much offense to that.
Well, either way, even if she is a princess, and she goes...
It was right there where I thought it's like maybe she isn't a princess, so maybe it's like, but they don't do anything with that. They just it's just like something to get her away, and then they meet up, and then Gurgi comes back
and attacks Fflewddur for
right. He's like, Harry Beast.
He's assaulting. Yeah, he's like murder, murder.
I love it whenever
I do actually like that.
Whenever cartoon characters, because I remember they do it in like Song of the South, where at one point Bryan Rabbit's like, I'm done for. Murder! He just like screams, and it's just like people yelling murder, which I think is really funny. Yeah. So he's just like, oh, murder! Oh.
There's another phrase like old people used to like fresh.
Oh,
fresh.
Yeah,
the fresh thing. Yeah. So they meet Gurgi, and they have a cute little reintroduction to Gurgi.
Yeah.
And then Gurgi...
Well, this is the first time we see him after the longest time.
After like maybe 20 minutes
and then he basically
minutes.
says like the pig, he found the pig tracks, and like I found the piggy. It's that way.
Find the piggy.
Yeah. Yeah. They want Gurgi to go away, and it's like, oh, total off. And I thought like they would say like make tracks. You know? And then he said like tracks. I remember pig tracks. I saw pig tracks. So let's... Yeah, and then but he doesn't say that. They don't say like make tracks. It's just all of a sudden he's like tracks. It's like, what made him think of that?
Because I think you see in the ground, you see foot tracks.
but it would have been funnier if it was like, they said something that reminded him of tracks, and then
that probably would have been.
I mean, that's a minor thing, but honestly,
that's us being like, if we made the black.
Yeah, exactly. So so they follow Gurgi, and we found out there's like a deleted scene where it kind of like goes on a little
longer. Yeah,
they actually go into a cave, and that's where they go into this whirlpool that goes into the Fairfolk place.
Yeah. But instead,
it's like they just go right to the chase. They just go to a lake, and they like
under a tree.
Yeah, under
and then
a
tree. They get sucked into a whirlpool that brings them down into this underground cavern where these creatures.
Not a really good transition, too, by the way.
And then it's where these creatures called the Fairfolk live.
Fairies.
They're fairies, okay?
They're dribbins.
They're Mr. Dolbins.
They're flibbins.
I'm going to call them the Flea Fly Floofies. So the Flea Fly Floofies are down there, and they meet the king.
The king.
And
which I can't remember
Dolly.
the name of. Dolly.
He's the worker.
Who's the worker?
He's the worker, and he's like,
he's pretty much just grumpy.
He's pretty much Sean Keller's animation.
Yeah. And it's really good stuff. Like, it's a really fun character.
Yeah. He's really fun because he's like, a grumpy fairy that has to work and do stuff. And it's like they mention, it's like, oh, you didn't fix the whirlpool. It's like, what is that, their toilet or something?
It was clearly they made the whirlpool to keep people out.
Yeah,
but it was kept letting people in.
Yeah. So it's like it was his job to like fix everything.
Yeah,
and all the other fairies are just kind of like magical creatures that just
sort of live there
and lurk out of the rocks.
Yeah, and I have a problem with this. So this is their entire town / civilization, and yet they're just the only construct we see him build is that leaf thing, I guess, to fix the leak
that
they had from the whirlpool. I'm like, what else is they doing? It should be like we were talking about Fraggle Rock.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it should be like the dozers.
The doozers, yeah.
Just like making things.
Yeah,
like,
you don't even see a house.
There should have been like...
There's no other constructs.
This would have been a great opportunity to make like a fairy kingdom, you know, like underneath in the rocks.
Smurf Village down there.
Smurf Village.
Because
exactly.
I mean, they're underground. There would be fungus
there was
down
more
there.
of
There'd
that
be moss.
There was actually more of that in the deleted scene than there was.
Yeah, like
in
there's
the
more
actual scene.
there was more plants and flowers.
Yeah,
and things down there.
and that would have been good to play around with. But no, I mean, like maybe they're farther away from where they actually live.
Yeah,
that's what I have to assume because like they're not living in those like dung heaps.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just living shit.
Yeah.
They just
because they were scared of the war. It's like, is the war still going on up there?
And that was another thing. They mention a war up above
ground, yeah.
That's why they
ground.
went down below.
That's why they went down below. And it's like there was even mention of that in the beginning of the movie where Dolben, the main pig keeper, he says like even the fair folk ran away from him.
Which is a great story point. Which also never comes back again.
Yeah.
Because the fair folk, they don't say fairy folk, they say fair folk. So it's like that could be just fair folk. People who just...
which means there are unfair folk somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like those unfair folk keep ripping me off.
Yeah. Unlike those...
I can't make a living being a pig keeper
the fair
here.
folk, unlike those wretched unfair folks.
They
still owe me money for...
And then it turns into like a Dr. Seuss book.
Because, spoiler alert, the good guys win at some point, but the fair folk never like resurface. They never like come above ground.
No.
There's no like, what do they get from this eventual outcome?
Oh, and also down there, Hen Wen, the pig, is down there.
Oh yeah, the pig is there.
They find the pig.
Yeah, they find the pig.
And so,
you mean this
that's
pig?
your pig.
Yeah. Oh, your pig? Not
we were gonna eat it.
Yeah. Dinner, you know. But we're gonna have a luau.
Yes.
Or the weird middle age equivalent of that.
Yeah.
Feast.
The Black Plague.
Yeah, the Black Plague. The Black Plague scourged the land. Yeah. So then they tell the plan. They're like, oh, we got to destroy the cauldron, and the king says, oh, the cauldron's in this place, but only Dolly knows where it is.
Yeah. So
Dolly gets kind of roped into taking them, and then they get sent back up. To the surface,
right?
And there's even a point where Taran's like, "Wait, what about Hen Wen?" He's like, "Oh, we'll make sure he gets home."
Yeah,
okay.
It's like okay,
they'll be fine.
Thanks.
Major problems with that scene. First off, they were only down there for 5 minutes. They did not say where home was.
Yeah.
He's like, did they read his mind? They know exactly where he's come from. He didn't give him.
I mean, there's never a moment where like even
did they
like
ask the pig. Maybe she knew where the home was.
Yeah.
Or even if they had a moment where
they
it's
just
like
gave it to a random family. He's like, "Hey, here's your pig."
He's like,
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Children dinner.
Pork chops tonight.
Yeah. Like there should have been a moment because even if like Dolben in the beginning of the movie says about the fair folk, there should have been even a moment where he's like, "Oh,
he knew them."
Or even like Taran was like, "I'm Taran, assistant pig keeper to so and so. I remember him during the Great War.
That would have been great.
Yes, I remember him.
Explained
how is he doing? He's fine, but
he
listen,
was a great warrior during the war above.
Our wise wizard.
Yeah, or wise wizard. Or
he
something
was a
like
great he was a good friend.
He's the best.
Andy was a good friend.
He was the best damn pig keeper.
He decided to settle down and keep pigs on the other side of the glen.
Yeah.
But so, and then like it's like, oh, don't worry, we'll get him home. And he goes, oh, thanks, and they just float up to the surface.
Yeah, I think like that moment was just like, okay, this is a cute moment to show some fairies, but that's it. They go up,
and then you never see them again.
We never see them again, except for Dolby,
Dolben, Dolly, Gurgi, Googie,
Dooflin,
Gooby,
Goober.
But
yeah, no, it's like he's basically their guide to go to this
find out where the cauldron is.
Yeah, this cauldron, which is like this
marsh.
This marsh, and it has like a cottage in there, which is like this rundown house.
A lot of cottages in this movie. No villages,
just cottages. Yeah.
People are very, very far away from each other.
Yeah, and so I think it would have been great if like Dolly like left right there. He was just like, well, here it is. I'm heading out, and he just went back. But he was still around apparently.
Yeah.
So because like he does show up later.
I credit him with a certain bit of diligence. He's gonna make sure like this job is fully done and get the cauldron.
Yeah.
So because he's not like it wasn't like he cared about the fate of the world.
Right. Exactly. So so they go into this cottage and they find a bunch of frogs that were apparently frogs that were people who were turned into frogs to be eaten.
Those were people.
Those were people.
Yeah.
And then the 3 witches come in who have names. Like, even at one point, one of them is Ordu, is one of them.
Ordu, Mordu, Badu, whatever it is. Yeah.
So anyway,
names are inconsequential. We just know them as witches. There's the main witch, there's the crazy witch.
Bobbity.
And Boo.
And Boo.
Yeah. Who is Boob.
Yeah. There's Mim, Mam, and Moom. So, and then, and it's... I
actually like these characters because they're really like...
I would love to see more of them.
Yeah.
It's funny that when we saw at the El Capitan, Hocus Pocus was playing, it's almost like they could have been the same characters.
Yeah, almost.
The same witches.
Yeah.
And so...
But they're great characters because it's like... I remember when I saw this movie, I remember parts of it. This was the one part I forgot completely, and I don't know why, but it was just one of those scenes where it's just like, I was watching it almost for the first time again, and I was like oh god, I love these witches.
One reason I can explain how it could be forgotten is that it's so close to like Mad Madam Mim from Sword in the Stone. Just like a random witch in a cottage, which they have to do a thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
So you're probably like mixing the two and like, no, that could have been from Black Cauldron. That's Sword of the Stone.
Right, yeah. So there was they have like a ton of cauldrons and stuff like that.
Oh, and then there's a weird scene where they want to eat Fflewddur.
Oh, and yes. They turn her into a frog, but the big one like wants
to be like, "Ooh, you're a pretty one."
Yeah, it's like, let's keep this one.
Or like he goes,
like, can I pluck your harp?
It's funny. I was saying before, and it made me laugh even as a kid, only because one of my aunts looks like the big busty fat witch. And it makes me laugh because I'm just like, that's kind of her.
They're cute.
And then you get a moment which, I mean,
she's awesome.
Yeah, and then you get a moment where I think you came in here right when we were watching that scene. You were like, and the best part of the movie is toad in the hole. There's a toad shoved in her breast.
It goes on for so long.
Yeah.
Now, and when we were watching the film in theaters, it got the biggest laugh.
Yeah.
That scene got the biggest laugh in the movie.
Oh, yeah. The ladies that were in front of us were busting up laughing.
Also, we should say, maybe about like 50 people in the movie total.
I was going to say, because I think you guys went on Sunday. Yeah. I heard that it was sold out the day before.
Really?
Yeah, probably. There's probably more people on Saturday than
I wonder how many people would go just like, I worked on this movie, let's go watch it, and just like remember.
Oh god,
that would have been that day.
Yeah, probably. So it's like, oh god.
Isn't it great that we had a career
Deja,
after
do you
that?
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Bring in your flask. Yeah. It's like, I remember that scene.
Yeah.
I remember I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I had to get the scene done to meet the deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been fun to be around.
Yeah.
But just a bunch of old animators just like guffawing it up, It's just
I remember the night I animated that scene. I had the worst diarrhea. we went down the street to the Mexican restaurant, and I still had the scene to finish. And that's why at the end of the scene it gets kind of scribbly because I was in a rush to get to the restroom.
Yeah.
But
so the witches, well, basically they ask for the cauldron, and then they just say they can't have the black.
They
cauldron.
don't say what they want with the cauldron. They just ask for the cauldron.
Yes, they just ask for it,
which is kind of fun in a way because it's like. Because she's like, oh, I'll trade the cauldron. We like to make bargains. We don't give things away. We like to trade.
Yes.
So they end up trading Taran's sword.
Yeah, because one of the witches, the main witch, like really wants that sword. She's like a collector of some sort. It's like
she just sees that it does all this magical stuff. She's like, oh, I just gotta have that sword.
I just think of them as hoarders, though. It's like they're just like a band of hoarders that just like need things and just keep them around because they got so much junk.
Look, it's the Mondo Media figure of the Iron Giant. I've got to have it. I'll trade you the cauldron.
I've never seen the movie, but I must have
it. Ooh, the blinking jaw screw model. I must have it.
But it was like it's so funny. There was that moment where it's like the sword. The sword is kind of like magic now. It's like now it's floating and it's just like hitting pots and stuff. So
does that mean the sword is possessed with the soul of the ancient king?
I don't know.
That would be awesome.
That would have been great to explain.
That king is angry. He's just destroying shit.
God, I am sick and tired of these fucking kids.
Pots. He hates barrels filled with wine. We know this.
Oh, and the funny thing about that scene is that, like, he's so giddy having the sword that he's just like, stabbing
Murder.
Murder. I hope they drown in it.
No! The booze!
Oh my god. But, so they make a deal.
Yeah,
and they said, oh, we want the cauldron.
We'll trade the sword for the
cauldron.
cauldron. And it's like in between us, it's like, that's just it. We'll have the cauldron and the sword. They can't do anything with it.
And they get the whole house rips apart, and now they're in the sky. They
basically killed their house.
Yeah, and then now they're just cloud beings now, and they're like, don't you know that it's indestructible?
Yeah.
You know, it can't be destroyed.
Yeah, but that's my problem. They didn't say what they wanted the cauldron for.
Yeah, and even they say, it's like, but you said we could have the cauldron. Oh, of course we said we could have the cauldron. It's not our fault you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, there was probably a line missing somewhere in there. It's like,
right, because it's like...
They should have said, like, we're here to destroy the Black Cauldron.
Yeah, but they, you know, it's called, it's like, you hear the story of, like, the witches, the monkey's paw, or the magic lamp, the genie, who's just sort of like, what do you want? I want this, okay. And he's very literal. Yeah. It's like, you got to be careful what you wish for. Yeah. So, but I wish it would be like, yes, we have it. How do we get it out of here? Yeah. I can't lift it. It's too hard. Yeah, well, it's like, oh, well, you're screwed. Goodbye.
Yeah, yeah, the witches basically state, like, they exercise the fact that a living being has to go into the cauldron willingly in order to stop the
evil powers of the cauldron.
You can't destroy it itself. You can only cancel out.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a weird thing, because now I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but they say that you could stop the evil power of the cauldron by willingly climbing into the cauldron. Does that only stop the act of raising the dead, or does it just destroy the powers of the cauldron?
No, I think it just stops, like,
because the thing is, they just leave that at the end of the movie. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but at the end of the movie, they take the cauldron back.
They take the cauldron
back. Okay, because I was about to say, like, someone else could totally just start raising a dead army again with that cauldron.
Yeah.
Creeper could come up and put in a dead bug and get some dead bug army or something. Yeah.
That'll be on the direct to DVD.
That'll be
sequel to
Black Cauldron 2
Electric Boogaloo
Creeper feature.
Creeper feature.
Yeah.
Creep show.
Creep
show. Yeah. Oh, so now they're all.
And it's Creeper wanting to have, like, a disco ball of, like, with everyone around. It's like, now use the Black Cauldron to, like, make this huge shindig. And
oh, he's just lonely.
Yeah.
What have you done with the cauldron? I've bedazzled it. Does it look nice hanging from the ceiling? But so now they're all sitting by the fire moping, like, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
And even Dolly's just sort of like, I'm fed up with your shit. You guys are stupid. You could go back to being a pig keeper and you being whatever you are. I'm gone.
I'm done.
You basically said it. He was like, this is how the audience feels.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm through with this. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pop, and goes away.
Yeah.
And then they're all like, well, we could do this. And then suddenly, right when they were about to do something, guards and the dragon.
The dragons and Creeper.
Korgoth the barbarian.
Yeah, all the barbarians are there, and they basically take them back. And now they're like hung up in the castle. The Horn King finally has the Black Cauldron. He reveals the fact. Oh, here's another thing. That was the whole thing with the Horn King talking about, you know, how he would resurrect all of these skeleton warriors. And there was also a scene where it's kind of like you see Tolwyn and Eilonwy like watching Creeper, like, yes, the kid will love this, and he's
like, oh, another batch,
like, bring him in. And then we see this arm revealed, like, of a skeleton or
a dead body,
and it's like, that would have been a great hint. Like, it's
and
like
then now reveal what the power of the cauldron.
Yes.
No. Well, we were saying that you saved that. Remember when the Horn King was monologuing about his dead skeleton?
Yes, soon.
Save that full scene after you hint that the fact that there's a corpse in that wagon.
Yes.
It's taken to a room. Yeah. Then when you see, it's like, oh, it's not just like 1 or 2 corpses. It's like 1,000 corpses.
Right. Like, what if he's like, I must have the cauldron, and you don't know why.
Yes.
Then later on, you see them bring a dead body, and he goes, good. More bodies.
And you're like, what's that about?
Yeah, and you're like, what is he doing with all these dead bodies? Great scene, and then suddenly he takes one of the dead bodies, puts it in the cauldron, and then suddenly holy shit, he's raising an army of the dead.
Yeah, and that was the whole...
Whoa, that's cool. Like,
and
if they established that, like, as you went, and you're like, what is he doing? Like, what is his evil plan?
There would have been great, powerful reveals. That's the thing that we're talking about. So it's like, and that would have been great. So, but now, like, the dead is raised. and now it's kind of like Ghostbusters, where it's like you see the green. We haven't talked about
Spirit,
that. Yeah, the whole
the music.
It's the same composer, Elmer Bernstein.
Yeah.
Bernstein.
Yeah. And then it gets into like the whole music, like the thriller music, like
all you need that one song from the original Ghostbusters film, Spirit.
Yeah.
So and
Taxi Zombie Driver.
And here there was a deleted scene that we were talking about,
right?
Where years ago I saw a really bad VHS copy of not the movie but of this specific scene, and I was like, oh my god, that's disgusting. Yeah, because originally when the Cauldron born is what they're called, these skeletons and undead
this green
warriors,
mist comes out,
and they jump onto, because the castle's also filled with these Korgoth looking live.
Yeah, it's basically
and
it's all the soldiers for the Horn King at the moment, but he wants like deathless warriors. So it's like
he doesn't have to feed them, doesn't have to pay them.
Yeah.
So and then there was a moment where they get affected by either the mist or just by the touch of the dead. They make he just melt away. And blood and the skin, and there's still an eyeball in the socket.
Yeah.
And they just turn into it turns into a skeleton. There was a scene animated.
Yeah.
It was painted and put on cells and shot. I saw a pencil test version of it in pencil. I never saw the final color version.
Yeah.
But it's like this image, if you go on Google and search Black Cauldron deleted scene, one of the first things you'll see is an image of a guy with like his skin boiling and blood and him just looking like he's getting the life sucked out of him. It's
pretty good.
Yeah, it's really gruesome, and it's awesome. It's kind of awesome because it's like it's not something that a regular Disney movie would do. So it would,
whoa,
and that would have been a good like whoa moment. Yeah. But I think they thought like, oh, this is a little too much.
I mean, I think I heard a story from a friend that said that they did a preview screening and there were kids throughout the movie just leaving the theater crying.
Yeah,
which is like, it's the 80s.
Yeah,
the 80s. Kids like if you remember a lot of movies from the 80s.
Yeah, we're not
that were appropriate. They were so not.
I mean, like
kid appropriate.
Gremlins and things.
Yeah, Gremlins.
But you also love those movies. Like we were just talking about Ghostbusters. There's that scene with the taxi driver and the librarian. Yeah. Would freak me out. Yeah. I would leave the room, but then I'd come right back.
Yeah. It's one of those things like, it is there to scare you, but at the same time, it's like, you want to know what happens. Yeah. You want to follow it. For the longest time, I freaking hated Gremlins 2 because I saw that in the theater as a kid. And then it's like, I had like just visions of these creatures that I just hated for years.
It was the female gremlin, wasn't it?
No, it was all the Gremlins, but it's like later on, it was like, you know what, I'm gonna face my fears again, and like as I was a kid, I hated.
And now
this
you
movie.
love it.
Now I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. It's one of those things. It's like it's just like it's a thing that is.
It makes you feel something, and feeling things is good.
Yeah. Exactly. That's another thing that Disney wanted.
Right.
It's like
Disney in the old movies, he knew that the audience needs to get like the full treatment. Mm-hmm. You need to. By scaring them, by intimidating them, by giving them all these different emotional feelings, you're giving them their money's worth.
Yeah. Exactly.
So like you look at a movie like Pinocchio. I'm going to tell a very short story. Yeah. When I was a little kid, one of my favorite things to do was whenever we go to the mall, we go to the Disney store, the old Disney store, when they used to have everything. You can get snow globes there.
Yeah.
You get all this cool stuff. Now it's all like Disney Infinity figures and cups and maybe a dress. But and maybe some clothes.
You can get clothes.
Mostly for kids though, sadly. But my favorite thing to do is that at the back of every Disney store there was a huge pile of stuffed animals, like a big pyramid. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And you just want to go up and play with all of them because they all look so cool and they're well made. And back then, now they're made like crap, but that's a different story. But some were themed. Some Disney stores were themed where they had these nice vinyl figures and it looks like, oh, they have all the props from the Disney movies and all the characters interacting and stuff.
Yeah, they had like figures and stuff.
Yeah. I've actually thought about buying one on eBay and having it in my house, but it's too expensive.
Oh yeah.
But also in the back they would have on the ceiling and stuff, they would paint the walls to look like Disney sketches, like drawings. And I remember one day going into the back and playing with the toys, and I looked straight up, and right above me is a drawing of the coachman from Pinocchio when he goes, as boys, and he gets big. He looks kind of like Wario.
Yeah.
Like, now it makes me laugh because he looks like Wario. He just is like...
And he has those huge, like, shiny eyes.
And his eyes are shiny, and he turns red, and his eyebrows get kind of almost devil-like.
Yeah, devilish.
And I remember looking at it, and then dropping stuff animal, and running screaming out of the store, and never wanting to go in there ever again. That scared the fucking shit out of me.
I'm really young for that.
I was about maybe 6.
Yeah.
Now the Coachman's Pleasure Island, a pink elephant scared the shit out of me as a kid, and Nine on Ball Mountain for sure.
Oh,
now looking back, those are my favorites. Some of my favorite.
The kid turning into a donkey in the Pinocchio.
That
is one of the most.
That's scary.
Scariest scenes.
The running in the woods with Snow White.
Yeah.
Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman.
Oh yeah. And the thing is also, do it bother me?
It's emotional. It's like it gives you an emotion, and people need to understand. It's like fear isn't an emotion.
Yeah.
It's something that people like to be scared as well.
But at the same time,
fear's a good thing.
Disney could frighten you with just atmosphere and scary music and just scary imagery.
Yeah.
This movie would have had a scene where a guy's literally his bones melt off with blood and popping pimples and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that would have frightened. That would be like,
that would have scared a lot of children.
That would be like a kid today seeing like a scene from Saw.
Yeah.
In the middle of like in the middle of Frozen.
Yeah, probably. In the middle of Frozen. It's like Elsa's
Elsa
like
froze Anna's leg, and it accidentally shatters off.
Suffer from frostbite.
And gangrene.
Yeah, you gotta take that leg. That leg's dead now.
Frostbite.
Oh god.
But
take the saw.
But here's what that scene needed. Like, I get why that probably would have been too intense. They could have either toned it down, like maybe make fairy dust. And then he's bones.
Fairy dust?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
just
some sort of
something a little less like...
Or how about like they
they
cross-dissolve into skeletons or something.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Because we didn't get that one moment, we don't know what the hell that these skeleton creatures are capable of, are the green mist.
Yeah, and that would have been another thing where it's like, it's like... They could have been a little clever with it. You know, how it's like, you see like one of the guys like get misted, and then all of a sudden it's like he hunches over and we have the camera to his back, and then he's like now. And then we see the other guys are like looking at him, like, what's going on, and then he's like, he reveals that he's like a skeleton as
he's
well,
wearing the same clothes,
so
it's like the same guy.
Or if you even cut to like Creeper and you just see the shadows of people turning, like doing this on the wall, and he's just like,
this is awful.
And then you see the Horn King like just like, good.
Yeah, good. Actually, you're right. Shadow would have been more effective.
Because I mean, like, even
then your imagination can be worse.
Oh yeah,
Disney did it back.
Exactly.
Yeah, Disney did it back in the day with they would do like German expressionist film like Nosferatu. Even in Fantasia with Mickey
Pinocchio.
chopping the broom up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Your imagination creates a much more horrifying image than giving you
with
exactly
the music as well. It's like it's very powerful.
Same with the donkey transformation.
Yes,
that's another one. It's a lot easier.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
So
it would have been neat, and it would have explained like,
what's going on.
Yeah, basically the Horn King's like intentions aren't really that well known.
Yeah.
It's just like he probably it's like one of those things where he's saying, it's like, now the world will be like mine, because like he already looks like he's dead already.
I mean, he's a skeleton. He's got no nose.
Yeah.
He's Voldemort with horns.
But also, this is why we needed to see like a town or a village near the Skull King, the Horn King's castle, because then when you see the green mist like heading towards that like village, it's like, holy crap,
we got to stop the cauldron before it gets too late,
right?
Or something.
You need that ticking clock for that.
Yeah,
because he's just like, now I'm first step in my plan for taking over the world. It's like, you're already king. There's like 2 other people outside this castle right now,
and rest of it is just forest.
This is basically his next step for domination,
before his corporate empire.
Yeah,
it's like, now I will own a Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
So
gonna have an Orange Julius over there.
And a Starbucks right next to another Starbucks.
Do we have Dairy Queens in this region? I don't think so, sire. Bring Dairy Queens and Checkers and Sonic and Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
So anyway,
corporate horned king.
yeah. Donald Trump. I would see
face
that.
melting.
Imagine just the horn. I was about to say Skeletor because he kind of looks like Skeletor.
Yeah.
The Horn King he pulls back his robe and he just
Yeah,
has
there's like a comb over.
My time has arrived. Oh, sire, put it away. But so the undead the Cauldron born are awake and they're going out to storm a forest because there's really nothing out there.
Well, the only thing you see him is like on the bridge, and they're just like skulking about over the bridge. And it's like, I guess that's the only kind of threat that you have.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, it would have been neat if there was like a bigger threat.
Yeah.
You know, like they would be going toward the village, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And but at this point, it's like Gurgi actually comes in, and finally, I guess he
frees Taran a lot.
He frees Taran, but it's that moment where it's like, oh, now he's brave this time. Like he's trying to save his friends, And so he frees Taran, and then like, you take Eilonwy and Fflewddur out of here. I'm going to go into the cauldron and stop it.
Gurgi doesn't want you to go into evil cauldron.
It's basically the opposite of the Lord of the Rings, where it's like it's instead of like Smeagol like stealing the ring and then falling in on accident. It's like he's willingly going into the cauldron to like save everyone.
Almost the exact same shot.
Yeah,
even though it predates those movies.
Right?
By like 20 years.
Yeah,
but and then.
But it's like it is actually a very like brave moment for Gurgi. It's like finally he realizes that he wants to help people and
and it's a really sad that his last line, at least I mean, at that point is he goes, Taran has many friends. Gurgi has no friends. and then he just and it's like, that's fucking sad.
Suicide.
Yeah. All right.
That's really fucking sad.
Taran's like, oh, good point.
Yeah, good point. See ya. So anyway, Gurgi falls in. Gurgi falls in with a fiery blaze. And
he blows up the...
and all of the magic from the cauldron gets sucked back into all the deathless warriors are dying out, and they're so they go, oh, look what's happening. They're dying. Here's the line. They're dying, and we're all yelling out. They're already dead.
They're skeletons. Don't you get it? They're undead, you nincompoop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's like, you better not. This better not be your fault.
And he's like, maybe it needs another body. Yours. And he's like, oh. And he's like pleading, my life's at stake. And
wake up. My life is at stake.
These are the jokes, folks.
Yeah. And then, so the Horn King goes down there and just... He sees that Taran is involved, so he goes over.
Taran is like kind of an idiot to be there in the first.
Because he says like maybe there's a chance. Because he says maybe there's a chance to save Gurgi.
Yeah, that's what he wants to do.
He exploded on contact. He spontaneously combusted. Unless you're gonna save his
Gurgi over there.
If you're gonna save his ashes
over there.
There's no reason.
Yeah, at that point, self-preservation should have kicked in.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So. And the thing that made us laugh was there's a scene where Horn King goes over and grabs Taran, and he grabs him by the mouth, and you just hear, no.
That's the thing. When I first saw this movie, it's like the one word that is used the most in this movie is no.
By Taran.
No. Yeah. No. Hen Wen. No.
My favorite was. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but my favorite thing is when the dragons take Hen Wen away. They go, no. Please! You don't say please! A please will not change the dragon's opinion.
He's so British. But to be fair, Frodo also wailed no a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Trilogy. It's just a thing for like a British protagonist in fantasy novels to do.
Yeah, but it is pretty funny that like the Horn King holds him by the mouth and he's saying no, and then he throws him off onto like you will quench the
thirst
of the cauldron, and then it's like The Horn King is like there, and he's trying to like get away from the suction of the cauldron.
Well, he's wearing all these drapey robes. It causes drag.
Yeah,
it's gonna
like,
pull
no
him
capes.
In. No capes.
No capes.
No capes.
No capes.
So he gets, and then comes what I consider is probably the most gruesome and the most awesome villain death.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, that is a great death. That is a great animation where he's just like holding on to the edge of the cauldron.
And
he's like shivering with like pain.
His skin is like peeling off.
First his coat, then his skin. You get to see like his actual body. Like,
well, they even do a close up of his fingernails as the skin's peeling off.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And it's like, that's why we're saying, like, you know, that whole deleted scene. It's like, that is gruesome. This is also gruesome. This is like among that sort of feel.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like nothing but bones. His fucking essence is going into the damn cauldron.
It would have been great if he said that. My fucking essence.
No, my robes, my bones, my fucking essence.
The thing that I think frightens me the most, more than him getting his skin peeled off and him screaming, is him. There's a point where he's still struggling as a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then there's a point where the power goes up through his ribcage into his head, and now you could see that he's getting his brains sucked out. Or
right,
whatever.
yeah, like that. That's a good effect.
And then suddenly, and the music helps too, it just goes boom, and just bits of bone are left.
Yeah, yeah. But it's, what's weird is like, before that point, how the hell did that happen? It's like it almost feels like there was a scene missing. You know, it's like
what?
He pulled in so quickly. And
he throws Taran down. Then he's like going over, and then all of a sudden, it's like you see Taran like reaching for something, but then it cuts right to the Horned King. It's like, no, you'll not have me. And what happened between that? Like, what was it that, like, made him slip up? There was almost probably a thing where I almost wanted to see Taran, like, taking a rock, and in his one last heroic moment, he throws it at the Horned King, and it, like, hits him, and then he just kind of, like, stumbles or something. Or,
like, if the last time we saw the Horned King, he was near the pillar that Taran was at. Maybe, like, Horn King was holding onto the pillar. Taran throws the rock at the pillar and loosens the rock.
Yeah, and then
or maybe he just trips the Horn King and he loses his grip, and then he
it's
gets sucked in.
It just seems like nothing happened. Like, you know, so
something could have been cut off. There's so many things that could have been.
Well, I mean, obviously this movie had a lot of edits in it.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But he gets destroyed, and Creeper has a little moment where he's like, "Oh, how horrible!
Oh, poor sire.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone."
Yeah, I love the animation of him in that scene.
He's just
it's
like
so good.
He's so crazy with giddiness that he just like heads out,
and
he does like the little horn fingers, like it's just like
he's making him. And then hilarious. So now it's after something really bad happens, the castle just starts to frickin' destroy itself.
As typical for
as typical
fantasy.
Right.
Yeah,
so they escape the castle.
They escape the castle.
And there's a great moment where they're on a boat just sailing. And then you just see Creeper riding the dragon with, I guess, not the Horn King's horns, but other horns. And he's pretending to be...
They could have been the horns. Like, he picked them up after he got exploded.
That could be. Who
Maybe,
knows?
Yeah, like...
And so then he escapes, and then now they're on the shore. Mm-hmm. The cauldron floats to the surface, which is like, how? It's an iron cauldron. It's probably hundreds of pounds.
It's evil.
It's evil. Everything floats here. So they're there, and they're sad and mourning Gurgi, and then suddenly the witches are like, hey, I guess you don't need this cauldron anymore. We'll just take it back. And it's like, oh, and then Fflewddur finally kind of
does something.
Mans up.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
He does something.
Yeah,
does something.
Finally does something.
Grows some balls. And he says, like, oh, we bargain, remember?
Yeah.
And he's...
You listen here.
And then,
we'll bargain.
And then they offer the sword, but Taran's like, but I'm not a warrior. I'm just a pig keeper.
I'm an assistant pig keeper. This is like the 5th time he said this.
assistant pig keeper.
I hated that line. The whole like Gurgi was the real hero. Yeah. Like,
and then he says, I don't want the sword, but I will trade for Gurgi.
Yeah.
Which should have said what is.
And we were like the audience from A Price is Right. We were like, don't go for the sword! The sword! The sword! Go for the sword!
But the obvious, you're gonna say.
I was gonna say they say I will trade for Gurgi, and they're like, oh no, and then Fflewddur's like, you don't have any power, admit it, and they take the cauldron and leave the body of Gurgi.
Yeah, and it's just the body.
At that point, after asking for the cauldron, they should know how to word it better.
You asked for Gurgi, but not alive.
We all saw that coming.
Yeah. And then he's mourning Gurgi and holding him, and then we have a proper burial, and then he's awake.
He's awake.
He cops a feel.
Honestly, that is a very Disney thing to do, honestly.
Yeah.
Though. So it's like, it's a happy ending. I mean, he should be alive.
I would have been happier with the sword.
Yeah.
He was happy with the sword.
He was, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, Gurgi is back, the lovable furry creature that is everyone really didn't like.
And then they go walking off into the distance, and then you find out that Dalbin, Dolly, and Hen Wen have been watching the whole thing in the Oracle. Mm-hmm. And then it just ends. The last line of the movie is just Dolly going, yep. Which sums up. Dun, 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 dun. And the music is like dun 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 dun, dun. And then that's it.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
That was the movie. And it's weird. It's funny because I remember as a kid having they had beanbag toys in the 90s. I guess when they came out with the movie on video in the mid 90s, it was the Hen Wen. They had Dolly
I remember,
and Gurgi.
Did they have a beanbag of the Black Cauldron?
I wish, and then you could put.
That would be cool.
And I would stuff Gurgi in it.
What is cool is there is a villain store in Disneyland, and they have the Black Cauldron in there, like a
prop,
as a prop, and that's pretty cool.
And they fill it with what, pins?
Yeah.
Or they fill it with card toppers.
Whatever evil merchandise they can fill in it.
Buttons.
Oh no, it's the most evil thing. They reach in. Frozen t-shirts. So many Frozen Elsa Olaf t-shirts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But Bryan, you saw this movie as a kid, right?
Yes,
in theaters.
Yes,
yeah.
I did.
So and you that should have been a really good experience, no?
It was because I had this phantom movie of this awesome, I love fantasy movies. Mm-hmm. So I had this awesome phantom movie that Disney produced, which was well animated and well designed, that no one else saw, and I hadn't seen until I think when it got released on DVD.
Yeah.
For me, in my head, I was like, this movie's probably amazing. Yeah. Until I saw it again, and I'm like, this movie sucks. Yeah. For so many reasons. And I also luckily saw it after Peter Jackson's return, Lord of the Rings films. Mm-hmm. So I'm comparing it to those things too. Right. I was like, that was fantasy done right. Mm-hmm. This is fantasy done wrong.
Yeah, and there could have been so many things that they could have done right.
And I would compare it to other 80s fantasy movies, Neverending Story, Legends,
Dark Crystal, Labyrinth.
Sure, Labyrinth, Krull. And Krull's not a good movie, but a great concept.
Yeah.
But all those movies did fantasy movies better. And they could tell a straight storied structure where you get introduced to characters who serve purposes, and they do their thing, and then they're out, and you have a nice conclusion. Mm-hmm. This movie does none of that.
No.
Well, the thing is, you also
it has a lot. It just has a lot of neat ideas. They just weren't constructed properly. And that's
Disney at first when they first started doing the movie, saying, "Let's take a risk. Let's do these Chronicles of Prydain stories."
Yeah.
And then they realized, what would Walt do? And then being like, well, we got to make it safe for kids. It's a Disney movie. We got to think about the legacy.
Yeah, they didn't really.
So let's make the characters just look like classic Disney characters in terms of just their design.
It was basically the idea of what they thought what Walt would do, and it
actually plays it safe to the point where they hurt themselves doing it.
Yeah, but they don't really
shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, they don't really realize that Walt was a risk taker. He liked doing new things, and it was just one of those. It was one of those things where it was like his teachings were kind of misinterpreted. Yeah, and this was
much like the Bible. Walt Disney's words were mistrued by the executives.
The Book of Walt.
Right. The Book of Walt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
funny. But yeah, no, I mean, yes, exactly. There's there should have been this feeling of yes, this is something that a Disney movie would be like, but let's take a risk. And it feels like they tried to do that, but there was probably a lot of fighting over that as well. all things considered, you know, because there's so many hands in the pot as well. So many hands in the cauldron.
Especially for like, yeah. Especially for 7 years in development.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Production.
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, I would love to hear people's experiences
working on this movie.
We all know like people who've worked on the movie, right?
I've met a couple people.
I know,
but they barely. I mean, I never asked them about Black Cauldron.
Yeah, I know Sean Keller, but I haven't heard from him in years.
I know Guy Vasilovich.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I found out it was for they were doing that movie Waking Sleeping Beauty.
Yes,
the documentary.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it then, but this movie got completely blown out of the water by the Care Bears movie. Which is like
the first one,
the original. Wow. I believe the original, or I think it was the original.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Which is like, whoa, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not a good
That's like,
sign.
how would that feel? I mean, it was definitely a hard time for the studio.
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, that was their last real kind of like, what do we do movie up until, and then after that was Great Mouse Detective, which was a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
which
no,
I personally
agree.
I consider. More so than Mermaid, I consider Great Mouse Detective to be the beginning of what became Disney movies.
Because people often forget about Oliver and Company, which followed that too. It's also fairly successful.
Yeah, it's a pretty successful movie.
Yeah,
it did
and
well.
I remember that movie as well. It's like, and I love Great Mouse Detective, so it's like, it's
so
understandable.
This movie is definitely not one of Disney's strongest movies, but there are things you can take out of it. Like, the movie stylistically, beautiful.
Yes.
It's the world is really interesting. I'd love to see more, or have it explored a little bit more. The characters aren't that great.
No.
It's funny, I watched
they're pretty, I mean, they have really weak characters.
We were saying, like, it possibly inspired The Legend of Zelda?
Yes, exactly. Like, I still need to look up as to what came first, this movie or Legend of Zelda.
I think this was 84, maybe 85.
84, 85, and I don't know when The Legend of Zelda came out, probably 86?
86.
Yeah, so it's funny because watching this movie, I was like, that's Link. That's Zelda. Just put on the hat, put on the crown. They're freaking Zelda and
You gotta
Link.
draw them.
Yeah, well, I want to do that. I really want to draw them as like Link and Zelda because
and who are you
it's
gonna make
almost
Gurgi? Yo, can you make Gurgi tingle? or Dolly or
something? Yeah,
Hen Wen can be
or a Moblin.
Yeah, or something. But
yeah, it's really funny seeing that because it's like I wonder if there was some sort of inspiration for Zelda with these characters because
what's his face's tunic is totally Link.
Oh yeah.
It's almost you just put in Link. Remember earlier designs of Link had like red, like brownish hair.
Brown hair. Yeah. So who knows? I mean that could have been a thing. They just don't want to admit it.
Yeah. It's funny. I was gonna tell a story. About there was a time on television where every time Disney would come out with a new movie, animated movie, every couple of years, they would always do like someone talking about the legacy of Disney animation and talking about the history up to this point. Now we're making Rescuers, or now we're making Fox and the Hound. I remember seeing a documentary on YouTube years ago. I think it's probably still up there about during the making of it was the mid 80s when they were making the Black Cauldron. And they had a whole section about how to make memorable Disney voices. And they talked about like, characters like Jiminy Cricket are endearing, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck is endearing. And then they had John Biner who played both Gurgi and Dolly in this movie. And they talked about how he came up with the voice of Gurgi as if he's going to be, because they said we're looking for a character that says, whose voice is as iconic as Donald Duck's. It's not.
Icons can go a lot of ways.
Right. Which I found out, if you watch, I didn't know until later, there's that special, the Opus special, Wish for Wings That Work, and there's Bill the Cat. I'm like, why does it sound familiar? It's just, whenever Bill the Cat makes a noise, it's just Gurgi. It's just...
Oh, yeah.
and coughing up a hairball.
Yeah.
I'm like, why does it sound like Gurgi? And I looked in the credits, it's the same guy, John Biner, who also did... there was those Pink Panther Ant and the Aardvark. He was the ant and the aardvark.
Oh yeah.
He was that like that.
I'm gonna get that ant.
I'm gonna get that ant. I'm going to get him.
And then I'm gonna go for a nosh.
Yeah, go for a nosh. Pesha.
I completely forgot that character.
The blue aardvark and the little ant. Yeah, it's so weird, but like Yeah, the movie is not memorable, really.
No, it really isn't.
I can't even say this.
I mean, there were so many things when I saw this again in the theater. There were so many things that I feel like there were some things that I remember, but some things I completely forgot about. And I don't usually do that with a movie. It's like when I watch a Disney movie, I know it from beginning to end, and you don't want to have to say that.
Some of it might just be how like disjointed the story is, because usually if a story is cohesive,
right,
it sticks in your brain better.
And that's and that's why it's like it feels like there should have been a lot of filler stuff like in between. They could have rearranged some scenes. There could have been some additional things that weren't.
Some characters don't need to be there.
Yeah, and there's some moments in the movies that there's no moment in the movie that's like an iconic. This is like. When I think of this movie, that's the image I think of.
Mm-hmm. For me, people think Skeleton Knights, but yeah.
Yeah, but like, but I mean, like, say, like in Fantasia, it's Mickey conducting stars, or the spaghetti scene, or Peter Pan flying to Neverland. There is no moment like that in this movie. No. Like, if I sit and I think about like Black Cauldron, what's the first thing I think of? I usually just think of Gurgi and Munchins and Crunchins.
Right.
I maybe think of the Horn King's death scene.
Yeah.
I think of. Maybe the dragons chasing the pig, but it's not like it's a movie that when you sit and someone asks you about it, you kind of have to think in your mind like, oh, what do I remember about that movie?
You don't feel anything from it because you don't feel anything for those characters. Like as awesome as like the Horn King is as a thematic bad guy, you don't really understand his plot. Thus, when he gets beaten, you don't feel like you triumphed over anything.
Yeah, and even really enjoyable characters like...
We just don't have a castle in the middle of
this. Right. It felt like the world is already his, and he just was going to like have his friends hang out who were dead.
Yeah.
Dead, and
he just wanted some drinking buddies.
Yeah, and you just stop that.
And even characters like Creeper, who's fun. He's a fun character. He's probably one of the most fun characters in the movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't really salvage the movie in any way. He doesn't bring anything new to the table.
Sadly, yeah.
So it's definitely, as far as Disney movies goes, it's definitely I would say a bust of a movie.
All right. I think I asked this question before. Do you think it's the weakest Disney movie out of all their lexicon of animated films?
That's really tough for me to say.
It's subjective, though.
It is very subjective.
But what's worse?
You know,
I don't know. Like there's some movies that I don't count as movies. Like Saludos Amigos is really not a movie. It's more like 40 minutes of shorts.
Right.
Just like some of the other package features are.
And I don't think a lot of people like consider those movies.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not really, I don't know if it really counts.
Like I never was a huge fan of like Fox and the Hound. Chicken Little I don't care for.
Oh, I forgot about Chicken Little.
Yeah. I didn't mind Chicken Little, but at the same time it's like I understand why.
Like when we talked about Home on the Range.
But
we had the same.
That's another one that's...
Well, no, we talked about Home on the Range, and that was one where we were pleasantly surprised that it is a fairly okay movie. The problem is that there was automatically that stigma of that this was the last, at the time, even they said this is the last hand-drawn Disney movie.
Yeah.
And when people expect a great finale of something that's supposed to be just a simple little film, it's like if you go in and think that you're going to go see an amazing blockbuster movie, like a summer blockbuster movie, and you end up seeing like an independent, almost like a Wes Anderson-y type of movie, and it's very down key and low played, then I guess there's automatically that you just feel automatically disappointed that it wasn't. It's like seeing a fireworks show with no finale.
But then it's like it's also extrapolating like my expectation versus what's actually being presented to me.
Yeah.
And what's being presented in Black Cauldron doesn't meet any expectation.
Right.
It's just not a good movie.
Yeah.
I think I was comparing to Dinosaur.
Dinosaur was one of the only movies I was ever close to walking out of.
Yeah.
Because
I gotta see this one through. I gotta power through it. Yeah. For me, honestly, I think Pocahontas probably because it's like it's
story wise,
there's some problems.
It's beautiful, but it's like there's not really much that I feel. I have to see that movie again. Actually,
I do too, because I haven't seen it since I saw it. But I would almost say they have some of the same problems where a lot of extraneous characters.
That's It's like they just have them there. It's like, okay, we kind of need some comic relief character. Let's drop this one in there.
Merchandising.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
it's like, again, I think it's subjective.
Yeah, it is subjective.
We all have our personal tastes.
But
some things aren't as subjective.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But with this movie, it's like I want to say that I do. I hate saying this. I do love this movie, ironically, because I know, like, I know a lot of, like, the backstory about it, where it's like, you know, it's one of the first movies that they had to say, is like, okay, what are we gonna do next? Like, this is the start of a new generation, and it's like, this is their attempt at it. And I do like the fact that they tried something a little bit more dark. They wanted to do they wanted to tell a story that wasn't a fairy tale, like a Hans Christian Andersen sort of story. They wanted to tell, like, an epic story, like a ye old tale that had magic and fantasy.
They wanted to tell a Lord of the Rings story, rather than just a fairy tale story, which is cool. But
and a lot of people wanted to do that at the time. I mean, it was like Jim Henson's was the Dark Crystal.
I even think of fucking Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, Dragon Slayer
must have been like,
yeah, exactly. That was a movie that it's like someone told me about recently, and I finally watched it because it was one of those movies where it's like I didn't know about it as a kid, and I knew it was like a Disney movie, and someone mentions it, like, go ahead and watch it, and I said, like, yeah, sure, and I was like, this is really, really creepy.
Yeah,
you know, this is like something that you wouldn't normally see from Disney, of all, you know. So I will give them credit for attempting something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe because they didn't, maybe they feel they couldn't really do much more. That maybe hindered them a little bit. Right. So really, I have to give people credit for this movie, because it's like it's a good attempt, but it still needs a lot of fixing. So, but at the same time, it's like I said, like with Rock-a-Doodle, I love that movie because I love going into it and trying at the end of it to figure out how I could fix that movie.
Right, because it's almost like you're given like a math problem.
Yeah.
Or not. Well, math isn't fun.
No,
but if you were given something
but in a sense, it's
when you think about the result, like, oh, this would have been so much
better. It's a puzzle.
It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's like assembling a puzzle, and then
it's a challenge. You know, it's something that you want to talk about and say, it's like, I could totally make this better. Here's how I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and that is a good way to think. Like, you know, as a director, Bryan, I mean, that's something that you have to do as well.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be given something and you have to solve it to make it better.
Yeah, because the pieces are there, and they're only especially from a Western context of a modern era of how you tell a story. We're used to seeing things. If it doesn't fit those standards, you're missing something. And it may not be something you're immediately aware of. Sometimes it takes multiple rewatches, or it takes someone else to say, hey, what about this? And you're like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it takes, like, it also takes a lot of minds to, like, come up with something different.
There's a language and there's a process we're all familiar with, and you kind of try to stay close to that as much as possible. As far as story goes, how you tell that story is wide and ranging, but there's things that people accept and there's things people don't accept.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I think we should talk about the what we each consider to be.
I actually think, well, we all kind of know what the worst and the best stuff of this movie is.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But and we are a little bit over time. Like, we are way over time. So I think we can basically sum it up that the things that we've talked about, you know, there are some good things to this, but there's a lot of bad things to it. And ultimately it's a good attempt. It's a good attempt. A valiant effort. Yeah. But in all seriousness, this is a pretty bad movie.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I still own it though.
Yeah. No,
me too.
Yeah, I still own it. And I have to say, like, watching it with friends is so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Just because...
It's a shame I wasn't there for it. I was over on the...
You were there for the refresher, so it's like...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but sadly it wasn't on the big screen, so... Which actually, I have to be honest, that was a great experience.
Seeing it on the big screen.
Seeing it on the big screen is a much different feeling than watching it on TV. Because it's like, it just feels grander, it feels greater. You're with people that... I mean, you don't know, and they're reacting to it.
I also think that's credit to like the powerhouse that is Disney Animation. It can still suck you into this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still in it, but I'm questioning it the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
it's an agnostic view of a Disney movie. There's doubts going in. So.
Yeah. So really, it's like that says something. If there's a movie out there that's that bad. It's like Mystery Science Theater, you know. It's like it's a movie that you know is bad, but you love it because it's bad. You know, that's a better experience. There should be like a category for movies like this where it's like so bad it's good.
There are a lot of Mystery Science Theater films I do with this, but it's one of those movies where I even think if you're in a film school and you're studying story, watch this movie.
Yeah.
This makes you feel so competent. Yeah. I'm like, wait, you should be able to do better than this. Fix this. It's your problem.
Exactly.
Solve,
and that's why I love coming up with those different ideas of how you could fix something.
And that's why I like going to movies with friends. Because afterwards you go out to dinner or you go to someone's house.
And you start talking about it.
You just talk about the movie and say, what would you have done better? What would you have done different? What would have made this better? What would have taken away from it? What changes could have been made?
Because if a movie is just like mediocre and it's just like
those are the worst.
I mean, it's just like, what can you say about it? It's like it was all right. That was it. You know,
and coming from like a storyboarding background, I try to think about how to make something better, but also at the same time almost economize too. So there's times where I'll look at something and be like, first of all, they didn't need to do this whole crazy scene. They could have done it simply. It would have gotten the point across 10 times better. And they wouldn't have wasted all that time doing this whole long sequence. Like we saw the deleted scene in this movie. Oh, yeah. I'm glad they cut it because...
It does go on.
It goes on and on and on. Like, you don't need to have characters talking for 9 minutes. I think they only spent maybe 2.5, 3 minutes in that ferry hole, rather than 9.5 minutes.
Yeah, the best thing it did is establish that little pond that they found the ferry hole is a deep recess of the world, which is something that's not quite traveled. Yeah, and it makes sense that humans could stumble upon that and end up in the ferry world, as opposed to just being like behind the farm.
Yeah,
because I don't know where anything is in this world.
Yeah.
Like there's very few cross-dissolves where you see time passing as they're walking.
Right. It just felt like they just went on like for an afternoon day trip.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So but that's
turn the corner.
That's Black Cauldron.
Yep, that's the Black Cauldron. So I guess that's our consensus is it's so bad it's good. No.
It's so bad.
It's so
bad.
Bad.
It's good to sit around and talk about how
bad
it is.
It's so bad. It's okay.
It's so bad. It's eh.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So Bryan, as our guest, I would like to see if there's anything that you'd like to plug or anything that you'd like your Twitter account where people can reach you.
Yeah, my Twitter is all one word, Dark King Zorro, and my DeviantArt, which I have not updated in probably 2 years.
Yeah,
is Banendorf. All one word.
Yeah.
Just...
I remember when I first met you, and I was like. I kind of know your work.
Yeah.
And then I immediately remembered going to your page, and I was like, oh yeah, you're that guy.
Yeah, I remember we were at the Mystery Science Theater 20th anniversary.
Yeah,
trying to get posters signed.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, I know your stuff.
I know you.
I know you.
Yeah, but watch episodes of Teen Titans Go and Rick and Morty if you enjoy them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. And
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, certainly. I'm glad to have you on. I know you wanted to talk about this movie with us, and it was a treat having you around, and it was fun watching that movie with you, also with everyone. So yeah,
thanks.
And Mike, it was fun watching with you today before the podcast, and
refresher.
Yeah. And Mike, do you have anything that you would like to plug at the moment? I don't know.
Not real. I mean, Wabbit's out.
Yeah.
Every Thursday, check out a new episode of Wabbit. Mm-hmm. I worked on a few of them.
Yeah.
A bunch of episodes, and a lot of talented people did too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Much better than the Looney Tunes show. I can say that being on the Looney Tunes show.
Okay, good. I didn't want to say anything.
That's fair.
But, because I know people who work on the Looney Tunes show.
And it's much better than the Lunatics Unleashed show.
Yes,
which I was on.
Yes.
Man, I didn't think about that. We're three heads of Looney Tunes property.
Mine's the best though.
That's fair. We concede.
Okay. All right. Well, that was fun.
And, Mike. We can find you on Twitter on at a guy who draws. And you can reach me at AWD Twit. And you can also, if you want to write to the show, you can find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and that is facebook.com/animated anarchy cast. And that is probably the best way that you can get a hold of us.
Please ask questions.
Yeah, please ask questions. We'll read them on the show. And also you can probably get updates there better than anything else. So please like us on there. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher. If you want to subscribe to us there, please give us a favorable review. Hopefully,
hopefully,
yes, hopefully, because you never know. They could probably be listening to the entire thing and then say, "Oh my God, these people are awful."
Oh my God! Oh my God! I don't like the Black Cauldron. Don't take it out on us if you don't like this movie.
He's like, "Why are you making me watch this? Like, we're not making you do anything."
Yeah. It's your fault.
We did not recommend you watch the movies before we talk about them. We just
only for the people who are in the know.
Yeah,
who have seen said movie.
Yeah. But yes, like us on Facebook, follow us on iTunes and Stitcher, and also look for us on Twitter. And yeah, that was another Animated Anarchy podcast. I am Andrew Dickman.
I'm Mike Ruocco.
And we are also with
Bryan Newton.
And we'll see you again next time.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, yes, happy Halloween. Ooh, spooky. Yeah.
Wow, this movie
Black Cauldrons, so munchings and crunchings. Yeah, man.
There's a lot to talk. We basically.
Well, yeah, we talked about a lot. Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a lot to talk about with this movie. So
it's and like we were saying, it's like when I was looking at the back of the DVD box, I'm like, this movie's 80 minutes. It felt like 2 hours when we saw it.
Yeah.
It felt like 2 solid hours.
Yeah, especially in the theater. It's like how long it went on, and it's, I like. Goodness, I didn't remember it being this long. They're still not even at the witch castle yet, or the witch cottage.
The witch hat cottage, yeah, to get the cauldron. But it's funny, because I knew while I was in Thailand, you guys were going to be seeing this movie, and I thought about it. I was thinking about it one day, and I remembered a story. I was in Disneyland, I think about 2 years ago, and we were leaving the park. It was near the end. I was with some friends. We were leaving the park. It was near the end of the day. And as I leave, there's the area where there's the like the Walt Disney and Mickey statue, and there's a bunch of benches around that little hub area in the middle. And there was a kid crying on a bench, and he was really crying. And he had his father or whoever was in front of him trying to console him. And I'm like, oh. No, that kid shouldn't be crying. It's Disneyland. It's the happiest place on earth.
What's wrong?
What's wrong with this kid? So I get within about 15 feet of this kid passing by him, and I realize that the kid is a bastard. Like, the kid is awful. Because I hear, as I pass by, if you buy me a cupcake, I'll stop crying.
Oh,
and I was like, what a little shit. I want to buy a cupcake in a store. Like one of those $8 Mickey Mouse Cheshire Cat giant cake pop infused cupcakes.
Yeah.
Just take a bite and just throw it at him, or like stomp on it in front of him. But
the reason why take one bite and throw it on the ground and then stomp.
On it.
There's your cupcake.
The reason why I remembered that story when I was thinking about the Black Cauldron was because I realized that kid, in a weird way, reminded me of Gurgi.
Oh, really?
Where I just imagine be like, I want the munchins and all the crunchins. I want the munchins and all the crunchins. Just like this broken, like the kid was obviously crying all day.
Munchins and crunchings, I'll be your friend.
Oh, master, give me the munchins and crunchins.
Yeah, you can imagine like the 5 kids who were inspired by Black Cauldron. Some of them might have been inspired by Gurgi.
I know.
Yeah.
That's how horrible of a precedent is that.
I'm kind of curious what kind of plushes and stuff came out of
I know this. I had beanbags. I had beanbag toys in the 90s when they released the movie on VHS for the first time.
Yeah, I remember seeing Gurgi around.
Really?
It was Gurgi, Hen Wen, and Dolly the elf.
They
the
might
fairy.
have some creepers too.
I don't remember there being a creeper.
Ooh, if there's a creeper, I definitely want to get that.
It's a T-Rex outside.
Yeah, it's like something just blow up. So your neighbor has a motorcycle.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I'm a little scared.
My neighbor is a lion. I have to.
I forgot to warn you guys. My neighbor is a lion.
I was like, that's the sound effect they make in movies when septic tanks blow up.
Yeah, it started to get worried a little bit after I heard that. I was like, what is that?
Oh, God.
Because, like, in my headset, it sounds a little different than what it normally does. Like,
and I stopped, and my eyes immediately went.
Yeah.
I looked like.
Is there an earthquake happening right now? Is there an earthquake?
I looked like I was in an Abbott and Costello movie because it like rumbled my seat, and at first I was like, "Excuse me," like I didn't know what to say, but I was just like,
"Excuse me, that was my stomach."
Sorry, an invisible elephant ran into my chair. Sorry about that. Oh wait, one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
We watched on the DVD the trailer.
Oh yeah.
And when there's the dragon comes up, it's just like an elephant going. What? Stupid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was weird. All right. Man. That's shitty. All right.